Private frequency at the Speedway. The Motor Racing Network may not be held responsible for conversations overheard by monitoring this frequency. That was 30 seconds to airtime. This is the Motor Racing Network counting down to today's broadcast. Your next time check will be 15 seconds to airtime. Stand by for your 10-second time check.
Live on the Motor Racing Network, it's the NASCAR Cup Series.
Let's get a big thumbs up. Get ready to rock and roll past the race cars today, pal. Oh boys, let's execute. Have a good day.
Today, practice and pole qualifying for the Shriners Children's 500 from Phoenix Raceway. Presented on MRN by E3 Spark Plugs. Powerful and fuel efficient. Find E3 at your nearest auto parts store.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Valley of the Sun. We're just outside of downtown Phoenix, Arizona. Motor Racing Network on the air live for NASCAR Cup Series practice and pole qualifying for tomorrow's Shriners Children's 500. Practice and pole qualifying for the Shriners Children's 500 is brought to you on MRN by E3 Spark Plugs. Powerful and fuel efficient. Find E3 at your nearest auto parts store. I'm Alex Hayden. Todd Gordon and Mike Bagley high atop the start-finish line here on this 1 mile oval. The green flag is in the air, Mike, and practice is underway, but it's not your normal weekend practice.
No, it's not, but it's not been a normal weekend in Phoenix so far. Yesterday, 51 degrees, rain. We got the ARCA Menard Series race in last night. However, today it's warmed up, 61 degrees, not a cloud in the sky, and right now, everybody in the NASCAR Cup Series garage, except for Kyle Larson, is on the racetrack. Normally, we split the garage up into two groups. Everybody takes turns at 20-minute sessions, but Todd Gordon, right now, it's everybody in the pool for one reason, and that's we've got tires that are going to be different this weekend here in Phoenix.
Yeah, we brought the primary tire that we ran in the championship weekend last year as a yellow tire for this weekend. That they've got the most sets of, but what we brought as an option is the option tire that we had at North Wilkesboro for the All-Star race, at Richmond for the points race last year. They brought it here to see how it can impact the race, to find out how it is. Most of the cars are on their primary tire. A few of the cars have rolled out here on that option tire. They're going to be seeing how much faster it is and how much it gives up in lap time.
As the opening handful of laps take place right off the bat, Carson Hocevar jumps to the top of the leaderboard. Michael McDowell, Chris Buescher, John Hunter Nemechek, and Brad Keselowski are the Fast Five. Now, this practice session starting with one set of the primary tire, one set of option through this 45-minute session. There are 4 cars that are going to start practice on the option tire. Michael McDowell, Kyle Larson, John Hunter Nemechek, and Austin Dillon. We also have 2 folks down on the pit lane working for us down there, covering all the action and the stories. We're going to start things off with Steve Post from Halstead, Pennsylvania. As he is checking on some stories down there on the pit lane. Mike, when you have these drivers, Michael McDowell being one of them, Nemechek another, starting on the option tire right off the bat, those 2 drivers go into the top 5 in timing and scoring.
Before we get into the nuts and bolts of practice, Todd, put in layman's terms, the difference between the 2 tires. Harder, softer. We're going to call them primary tires and option tires, but there's a distinct difference between the 2.
Yes, if you think about it, the option tire, the red sidewall tire, and that's how we differentiate them from up here as we see it. That's a softer compound. It grips into the racetrack, and you can feel it with your fingernails right into it. It's softer. It gets down to the racetrack. It makes more grip. It makes these things faster through the corners. Should be, I would think it's going to be a half a second faster on fire-off speed. We'll see where that plays out on this surface. We haven't run it here, but as it goes on, it's going to build more heat, and it's going to wear more, and then it will lose that grip, and hopefully it becomes less grip longer the run than what the primary tire maintains.
Carson Hocevar went out and put the fastest lap of the practice session in. He's already taken that Chevrolet to the pit lane. The hood is up on it, and from the binoculars we can tell he does have the red sidewalled option tires on that race car. Todd?
And as I look at this, he only made one lap. Actually, in looking at this, the racetrack's as clean as it's going to be. They may have gone out and made a mock qualifying trim run just to see where it is, especially since you have two sets of tires. You could do that. We'll see what they put for tires on and what they do with air pressures here to continue the run.
If it's your call and you've got to chart out a practice strategy, is that the right strategy? What would you do if you have two tires to choose from?
I would start on my primary tire, the yellow tire, as we see most of the field has done that, and work from that. Find out, make sure my car balance is right, and then apply the offsets that I feel like I'm going to be able to during the race to put the option tire on, the stickier tire, the softer tire, and work forward from there. We just saw Kyle Larson roll off with his option tires on. It'll be interesting to see how fast he is, but there's different ways you could do this. I do see the benefit of Carson Hocevar. If you don't think you qualify well here, take the opportunity, since you have two sets of tires, a longer practice, to make a mock qualifying run, see where your balance is, and then come back and make sure that you understand the offset going to qualifying.
Todd just mentioned that Kyle Larson just pulled on the racetrack. Chris Wilner, I see you standing around the Kyle Larson pit box down there. What's the thinking for that race team?
Yeah, so early on, Cliff Daniels wanted his driver Kyle Larson to stay put in the pit box. They wanted to see how drivers like Michael McDowell and Austin Dillon, who started this practice session on those option tires, how they fared as far as the first several laps. Once Kyle Larson, who has a tablet on board his race car, was able to see some of the telemetry, they just released Kyle from the pit box. The plan here is to run about 30 laps. See what kind of fall off happens after 30. They don't want to go too far because, of course, like most of the other teams are on the primary tire, they want to get a long run feel on that one as well. So 30 laps for Kyle Larson, but wanted to see how some of the others fared here first. And right now he's going to get his first laps around Phoenix and with that option tire.
Alex made mention of Carson Hocevar going out onto the racetrack, completed that one lap at a 27.163 seconds, 132.533 miles an hour. They have just completed working on that car under the watchful eye of Steve Post of Halstead, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, Mike, and Todd Gordon absolutely nailed it with what they did. They went out and they did a mock qualifying lap on the primary tires, and now they have put the option tire in for a longer run. Their teammate Michael McDowell has been on the option tire since the beginning of this practice session, so they wanted to do a mock qualifying lap here because qualifying is very important. We had the chance to sit down with Carson Hocevar a week or two ago, and man, they are stressing stage points. They are talking stage points every time you will talk to them. Stage points come in the first stage, which come with qualifying. So this team has put an effort on qualifying, and I think exactly as Todd Gordon speculated here, they want to get a qualifying setup. Now they want to learn about the option tire, and then a little bit later on they'll bolt these primary tires back on and learn about this primary tire.
And as you look at this, when you have to qualify on the primary tire, the yellow sidewall tire, to make this, you're going to change your air pressures to do a mock qualifying run. Because we have two sets of tires, they've got that opportunity. Now this tire can cool down. They can reset the pressures to air pressure of race pressures and come back and run that yellow primary tire later in the run.
37 minutes remain in this one and only practice session from Phoenix Raceway. This is the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
You crave power, but your ride is holding you back. Feeling the burn of mediocrity instead of the thrill of domination. E3's cutting-edge tech, the same spark that fuels NASCAR champions, also delivers maximum fuel efficiency, so you spend less time at the pump and more time on the track. This is championship performance. This is E3 Spark Plugs. Don't just dream of speed. Make it your reality. Power, speed, endurance. E3. What are you running?
You're not going to want to miss tonight's county fair. I'm going to be...
We are your window to your community.
Did you see the last 5 minutes of that football game last night?
Oh, man, I saw the whole thing. And a lifeline to keep you safe when danger is near.
Everybody who is listening needs to take cover as soon as they can. This is one of the biggest storms.
We are live and local. We are America's broadcasters. Text radio to 52886 and tell Congress you depend on your local radio stations.
Message and data rates may apply. You may receive up to 4 messages a month, and you may text STOP to STOP.
This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
We welcome you back to Phoenix Raceway. A lot of drivers have been able to bring their cars on and off the pit lane. One of those is Chase Briscoe. He went out and ran 3 laps and brought the race car back to pit road. He is just now going back out on the racetrack.
So Carson Hocevar, Michael McDowell, Chris Buescher, Tyler Reddick, John Hunter Nemechek are the top 5. Bubba Wallace right now is 6th. Brad Keselowski is 7th. Eric Jones is 8th. William Byron is 9th. Ty Gibbs right now rounding out the top 10 of the fastest cars that are on the racetrack.
Steve Post has been following along here before practice started, and right now as we get our opening minutes in with the Ford Performance Camp. Steve, what's going on with the Fords?
Right now, when we look at Team Penske, they're all out there just getting a baseline with their primary tire. I'm looking up and down their pit box back here, and all of the red labeled option tires just sitting here at the back of their pit boxes, as they don't seem in any hurry to go with that. So they are working on just the baseline setup. And of course, when we talk about baseline setup, we talk about Phoenix. Team Penske's pretty good here. They're the team that everyone's kind of shooting for. They've won the last 3 fall races here, wrapping up championships. So they've won 2 of the last 3 fall races here, winding up championships on all 3 of those occasions. So right now they are out there just getting baselining and just trying to get a feel for what their cars are doing. Haven't heard any specifics from the drivers thus far on the radio chatter, other than they're just logging laps right now, and they just keep adding lap after lap after lap on these teams. Right now we're looking at 19 laps and 20 laps from some of these teams as they work their way through this 45-minute practice session.
Interesting that Steve talks about that. They've won the last 3 fall races here. They've not won the spring races here. A little different makeup here. When you look back, I think we've had Christopher Bell, we've had William Byron, we've had guys from other manufacturers won the spring race. It's a little different makeup, but definitely think they'll be in the hunt.
It's ironic you bring that up, because one of the things in the offseason that Hendrick Motorsports and their Chevrolets have been working on is being better at Phoenix in the fall. They've had pockets of good runs, but they've not shared the abundance of successes that Team Penske has shared in the Ford camp.
And they understand that it is. You think about it, this race is so far removed time-wise and temperature-wise. We've got a summer that bakes this racetrack. The fall race, it's a different weekend. So we'll see where that all plays out today and what people can learn and put in the notebook to come back for championship weekend.
Once again, this 45-minute practice session, we're down to 33 minutes, and the 2 tire combinations that these teams have, the primary tire and the softer option tire. Now, Michael McDowell and that team, Mike, started off the practice session on the softer option tire. They've run now 22 consecutive laps. Their fastest lap was the first lap out there, 27.165 seconds. Lap 22, 28.39 seconds, so about 0.8 of a second over 22 laps.
And right now, Michael McDowell is second on the leaderboard. Curious to note that the 2 fastest Chevrolets belong to Spire Motorsports in Carson Hocevar and Michael McDowell. But what about the Toyotas, Chris Wilner? Where are they in this early reaches of this practice session?
Yeah, well, right now, Mike, Chase Briscoe's the first that I've noticed that left pit road just moments ago on the option tire, so already making a switch from the primaries that he started on. Of course, Briscoe and the rest of his Joe Gibbs Racing teammates on different strategies here early on, but Briscoe's going to be the first one to give him a read here on the option tire.
That's the story on the Chase Briscoe car, and he's just out there getting around, getting more laps. Right now, 13th on the leaderboard is Chase Briscoe after his opening lap put down on his first lap was the fastest he was run. So far, nobody has put a fast lap on past their 5th lap on the racetrack. Austin Dillon's the deepest. His 5th lap was his best lap so far here in this practice session. We also want to look at the averages as far as the 10, 15 lap averages, and Michael McDowell is the best right now on the 10 lap average as well as the 15 consecutive lap average.
Tires will be the main topic of conversation this weekend here at Phoenix, and even on Monday, because after we button up the Shriners Children's 500 on Sunday afternoon, Goodyear is coming back on Monday, and we'll be testing more tire options with Josh Berry, Tyler Reddick, and Austin Dillon. And they're bringing a little bit of everything. Basically, had a chance to chat with Mark Keto this past week from Goodyear. They're bringing several options And Todd, they're going to turn them loose on the racetrack, use all these various combinations, and then land on one tire and one tire only to bring back for championship weekend at the end of October, beginning of November.
Yeah, and the thought of bringing the option tire here was that they get a chance to see race condition wears and temperatures and what they see out of this option tire. That's a one step softer. I've heard they may have the Martinsville tire here to try. They've got 4 different left sides that they're going to be trying tomorrow. They've come up with some really, really soft stuff. Goodyear wants to identify how far they can go with this and where they can get to. As we look to this, you're talking about where the lap times cross over. I've been looking at Tyler Reddick, Michael McDowell on the 2 different tires. They seem to have the same slopes through 25 laps. I haven't seen where that option tire has fallen off. Chris Wilner, what are you hearing on McDowell down there?
Todd Gordon, that's the exact same thing Travis Peterson just told his driver, Michael McDowell. He said, we're 26 or 27 laps in, and you are still faster than the guys running the longer runs on the primary tire. So they're happy with it. They're going to let Michael push several laps more just to see if they can get past that 30-lap mark. Maybe there is kind of that plateau and then a fall-off on the option tire. But Spire Motorsports very happy so far, especially on the Michael McDowell machine. Now, for Justin Haley, he's got a crew chief that knows a thing or two about winning here at Phoenix. That's Ronnie Childers, and Ronnie came over the radio to his driver. They've already made several wholesale changes to his Chevrolet, still opting to stay on the primary tires, but Justin just rolled back out on the racetrack and said this feels much, much better. They're going to get one more read and then switch to the option tire. So multiple strategies on the Spire Motorsports side, but so far so good for at least both of those 2 cars.
Michael McDowell just passed the start-finish line to put his 30th consecutive lap in here in practice. That is not the most so far. It's Chase Elliott, who has now run 31 consecutive laps from Phoenix Raceway. This is the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
Imagine a scrapbook filled with all your favorite memories of 75 years at Darlington Raceway. Now imagine that scrapbook going 190 miles per hour.
Have you ever? No, I've never.
You don't have to imagine it. You need to get to Darlington, where the drivers of today tackle the track too tough to tame, just like they did your first time. NASCAR Throwback Weekend at Darlington Raceway, April 5th and 6th. Get your tickets now at darlingtonraceway.com. Discover South Carolina.
Don't miss a moment of the NASCAR season.
Chastain drove it and never lifted. Put it against the safer barrier and all the way around the turn, passes Denny Hamlin.
Check out the Motor Racing Network's coverage of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, the NASCAR Xfinity Series, and the NASCAR Cup Series on hundreds of local radio stations around the country. Find your local station by going to mrn.com to catch the excitement of NASCAR on the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
Down to 28 minutes to go here in this one and only practice session before we go qualifying here for tomorrow's Shriners Children's 500. Mike, the top 5 continues to stay the same. Carson Hocevar, Michael McDowell, Chris Buescher, Tyler Reddick, John Hunter Nemechek. Again, that's single lap speed.
Bubba Wallace, Brett Keselowski, Eric Jones, William Byron, Ty Gibbs rounding out the top 10. It's interesting to note that the best consecutive lap averages belongs to Tyler Reddick. Tyler Reddick, of course, excellent on the road courses, excellent on intermediate tracks, and he's been known to turn in a couple of good performances here and there on tracks like this. When you look at what we're seeing right now, Todd, you're looking for crossovers of the primary tire and the option tire. We're also starting to see the track rubber in a lot, and that's more so than we had yet this morning from NASCAR Xfinity Series practice and qualifying. When we talk about the track rubbering in or blackening up, what is it that we're trying to describe there, and what is the track going through when that happens?
Well, if you look at it, think about the racetrack being like sandpaper. And when it's new, it's got a lot of grip in it. It can really bite into the wood that it's worked. When you get to this point, as it rubbers in, that's like the sandpaper kind of loading up with wood chips as it's gone along. It becomes less grip, and you get to a situation where you lose lap time. And that's going to be something these teams will have to watch at between the primary tire and the option tire when you ran them and what condition the racetrack was in. A guy that ran the option here early is going to show more speed than a guy that runs the option later because the racetrack's rubbered in. It's kind of loaded that sandpaper up with sawdust. It's not going to have as much bite.
That's part of the ongoing process with these crew chiefs and these drivers, trying to figure out and understand how these tires are going to react here at Phoenix Raceway. Given the fact that tomorrow the forecast is for the warmest day of the entire weekend here at Phoenix Raceway. Supposed to be in the low to mid 80s tomorrow with that brilliant Arizona sunshine beating down here on this racetrack, something that they'll have to pay close attention to. Now, something else that we see come race time, Mike, is the fact that drivers will cut the dog leg, come off the banking down on the flat of the track. Not one single race car has done that here in practice so far.
So when you look at Phoenix Raceway at the start-finish line, you have a couple of 100 yards before the track bends to the left, and then a short chute, and then you hang the hard left going into turn number 1. As soon as you cross the start-finish line, there is an angle that the cars can take that'll beeline right onto the bottom of the racetrack, right on the apron, and back up onto the racing surface. However, Todd, there's a risk versus reward proposition when you do that. Describe that to us.
Yeah, it's tough on the drivers because we run these cars so low, they're sitting down on chassis stops and shock stops. They're right there against them. As you transition onto that, it's really hard. It's really hard on the impact that you feel. It rattles the heads. I've heard drivers say they take Advil or something like that before the race, anticipating where it's going to be. The other pieces in that transition, the splitter hits, it may bend that a little bit, wear that a little bit. The diffuser is a piece. If it wears the strakes off the side of it, you lose downforce. So you want to save that and only use that when it's profitable for you to make a pass or finish a pass on a car come race time. Steve Post, what you got on the Penske guys down there?
Well, it was funny. About 15 minutes ago, I reported that the red-lettered option tires all just sat at the back of the Penske pit boxes, unbothered, unattended to. About 5 minutes ago, you saw the tire specialists all go over to those tires and start making air pressure adjustments. 3 minutes ago, they rolled them off to the pit wall, and right now all three Penske teams are getting ready to put or are putting on the option tires. So the primary tires are off these cars, and they are putting on the option tire. This team felt like they wanted to get a good baseline. They wanted to get a good setup on the car. When you look at the volume of laps they did, 17 laps, 18 laps, 22 laps, it looks like, for these cars, 25 laps, it looks like, for one of them, as they work their way through. So they've got a lot of laps on the primary tire, and now Team Penske's going to work on this option tire.
And if we look at the first run that Michael McDowell made, because he was one of the few that were on the option tire, he's out to 37 laps and maintaining pace with Tyler Reddick, who is on the primary tire, one of the fastest on the primary tire. I think you've got to look at this. We've got 23 minutes left. You've got to be in a situation where you can run past 40 laps. If we can get to the point where we can run to 50, it would be awesome. Stage 2, Stage 3, going to be about 115 green flag laps. We've got to get where we can split that in half to understand that data.
We've gone all in on tires, primary and option tires, and our main focus has been on that. Is there anything else that we need to keep in mind that could affect qualifying and the race on Sunday?
Well, you're ending on the option tire. It's a different grip level than what you're going to qualify on, because we have to qualify on the primary tire. They don't have that option, and they only have 2 of these red option tires to work with come race time. So we focus on the reds right now, but we're going to have to come back and run that primary tire for qualifying.
As they continue to go here with 22.5 minutes to go in practice, Hendrick Motorsports started with a 4-car contingent. Only one of those 4 cars started the practice on the softer option tire. That was Kyle Larson and his team. What about the rest as Hendrick Motorsports as a whole, Chris?
Well, William Byron has been in a couple different times on the primary tire. They haven't even found the right balance yet before switching over to the option tire, and that's because William has been complaining of a really loose race car. The rear tire's not stuck into the racetrack, not finding that drive off that he's wanted. So Rudy Fugel's made some significant changes before they come back down and try the option tire. Chase Elliott is in. He ran 36 consecutive laps on the primary tire, that yellow sidewall tire, and there's some significant wear already. So they're talking about that. Maybe Chase was needing to drive the corners just a little bit differently, but so far he's been quiet on the radio as far as handling. They're leaving the primary tires on for now, but I would expect here shortly them to bolt on the option tires. Alex Bowman is back out on the racetrack. They just bolted on 4 option tires as well for his first trips around Phoenix on that option tire. So using some of that data from Larson, they were talking about what he was being able to do between the 5 and 10 lap runs on those option tires. So they'll see what Alex Bowman has and the rest of the Hendrick group when they bolt those on.
Hendrick Motorsports is not setting the world on fire here in this practice session. The highest running Hendrick car is in the 9th position, actually now 10th, as teams are going out on their options. However, Legacy Motor Club and John Hunter Nemechek, 6th fastest time. They've come to life here in the last couple of weeks, and they've come to life in this practice session.
And the one thing I want to point out is the one Hendrick car was Kyle Larson that went out on the option tire for first, but he waited 5 minutes into practice, waited for the racetrack to get a little rubbered in. He didn't fire off with that big speed on the first lap, but when you look at lap 15, you look at lap 20, he's really, really, really competitive.
That's just part of what we're going to see. You don't have a ton of tires to work with in the race. The option tire in the race tomorrow, you only get 2 sets of those. So as a crew chief and you're figuring out your data right now, you'll sit down with your engineers. As you formulate this and watch the opening 15 minutes of this practice, Todd, if you're the crew chief down there, when would you like to put those option tires on?
For this practice, I'd like them on. I would want to put them on and get as long a run as I can. The Penske guys coming out here just outside of 20 minutes. When you look at that, you might be tickling on getting 50 laps on this set of tires. I'd like to get a long enough run so I can see when they give up on me. That's the piece I've got, that piece of data that's unknown, and that will change how you call a strategy of when you use your tires come race tomorrow.
Right now, Carson Hocevar, Michael McDowell, Austin Cindric, Denny Hamlin, Chris Buescher, the top 5 with less than 20 minutes remaining in this practice session. From Phoenix Raceway, this is the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
Good morning, guys. I just want to warn you, traffic is tough out there.
We are here for you to tell you how to keep safe.
Everybody who is listening needs to take cover as soon as they can.
To provide the music, talk, and sports you love. And to deliver the news that matters to you. We are the voices you can trust. We are live and local. We are America's broadcasters. Text radio to 52886 and tell Congress you depend on your local radio stations.
Message and data rates may apply. You may receive up to 4 messages a month, and you may text STOP to STOP.
This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
Welcome to Martinsville.
Martinsville isn't your average everyday racetrack. It's truly one of a kind. The speed, the shape, the history, the hospitality, heck, even the hot dogs. A one-of-a-kind weekend at the short track of NASCAR with trucks on Friday, Xfinity on Saturday, and Cup Series on Sunday. It's one event too amazing to miss. NASCAR weekend at Martinsville Speedway, March 28th through the 30th. Get your tickets now at martinsvillespeedway.com.
Back at Phoenix Raceway, 18 minutes, 30 seconds left in this 45-minute practice session for the NASCAR Cup Series. Spire Motorsports, Carson Hocevar, Michael McDowell, the fastest so far. Let's get an update on the Gibbs Toyotas with Steve Post.
The Gibbs camp has been really varied in their strategy on this. Remember, it was probably 15, 20 minutes ago, Chase Briscoe came in, and he put the option tire on. He's already completed a fairly significant run on that option tire. He's sitting here now, and they're going to go back to the primary tires. So Chase Briscoe has done that. About 5-6 minutes ago, we had Denny Hamlin and Ty Gibbs come in. They did longer runs on the primary tire, and they are now out running laps on that option tire. And Christopher Bell, man, I'll tell you what a runs he is on. Winning the last 2 NASCAR Cup Series races. He's the defending race winner. He went very, very long on that primary tire. He literally now is pulling off from pit road first time out on the option tire. So I think really across the board, and Todd kind of talk about this a little bit with a 4-car team and a very, very well-entrenched database. Probably a little different strategy. Some of it's for individual cars, but I'm guessing maybe some of it is for some corporate knowledge as well.
Yeah, when you've got the opportunity, if you've got teams that understand the offsets between drivers and what they're looking for out of the race cars, you can run these things differently, and that way you get to see one team might see that option tire run on a newer, clean racetrack when we first start practice. Another team might run it later when the racetrack's rubbered in. Understand the difference in how that tire responds to the racetrack being in different conditions, and you can correlate those notes between each other of what the transition from primary to option has been, and vice versa, the opposite way from option to primary. Another way to kind of correlate within a multi-car team, just to find ways to have better knowledge.
Chase Elliott went back out on the racetrack, ran a handful of laps. Down here, coming up through turn number 4, the race car really rocketed up the banking here. He kept it off the safer barrier, but Chris Wilner, Chase Elliott now has brought the car right back down the pit lane.
He has, Alex Hayden. He was actually on 36-lap scuff primary tires that he ran the opening segment of practice, and they wanted to see what the heat cycle does on these primary tires. Of course, if that strategy should play in the race on Sunday. So they brought him down a handful of laps ago, let him sit, let them cool, made a little bit of an adjustment, then ran a handful of laps just then, and Chase came over the radio and said, yeah, these tires are starting to really fall off. And he mentioned the moment he had coming up off the corner. So now they've bolted off those now really used primary tires, and they're going to go back now onto those option red wall tires for the remainder of practice to see what they can learn on how those fall off. But Chase Elliott, the first of my knowledge to run a heat cycle on a set of primary tires, and Todd Gordon, that's valuable knowledge when we get to Sunday.
Yeah, it definitely is, and how you call a race, when you want to come, how much of a penalty is it when you've got a 30-lap run and the caution comes out? Do I want to give up track position to come put tires on, or do I think I can refire on it? A really good test here for Alan Gustafson in practice. Now we'll see what they've got when they've got the option tire on here. It's part of the database you can learn in a 45-minute practice.
It's hard to go through every exercise, through every option, through every possibility that's going to come up over a 312-lap race here at Phoenix, 500 kilometers. So what do you prioritize? Like, what paces do you want your car to be put through, your driver to be put through, your tires to be put through, so you can have a little nugget in the back of your mind depending on what you're greeted with during the race on Sunday?
Yeah, for me, just on an individual team, I'd want to make 2 long runs as long as I can on the primary and option, the 2 tires that we have for this practice. We've got 1 set of each. I want to use them and run as long as I can, so I understand where the trade-offs are of short run versus long run, of the option and the primary tire. And I think Alan did a great job in just seeing how that tire, now that it's cooled off, had an opportunity to come in there, we're going to work on the car, see how it refires, because that's a race scenario that you will have to deal with on Sunday. They've got a data point that they can look back to that other crew chiefs won't have.
So we do need to follow up on one thing, because Mike said data, you say data. Which one is it?
I'll defer to the crew chief.
It's whichever one you want to use. That's how we work.
Tomato, potato.
Data, it doesn't matter. Either way, as long as you get what you need information-wise and apply it to your race car for tomorrow, Shriners Children's 500, which, by the way, you can hear right here on the Motor Racing Network, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, NASCAR Live Race Day, here from Phoenix Raceway.
Don't forget, coming up later this afternoon, we'll have coverage of the NASCAR Xfinity Series GovX 200, 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. That's after we button up practice, after we button up qualifying, and it's going to be a different format here in 2025 at Phoenix, where it's going to be a single car run, 1 round. There'll be no going to the end of everybody, chopping off the top 10 and having them go again. You get 1 lap and 1 lap only to establish a lap of record for tomorrow's starting lineup.
Top 5 is beginning to change just a bit here in our single lap speeds because of some of those teams putting on the option tire late in this practice session. Carson Hocevar still the fastest. Michael McDowell second quick. Tyler Reddick on his 40th lap has just gone to the number 3 position. Austin Cindric on his 38th lap has gone to the 4th spot, and Chris Buescher is 5th now on his 29th lap of practice.
William Byron has just jumped up to 6th in his 35th lap. Denny Hamlin is 7th. Eric Jones is 8th. Christopher Bell 9th. John Hunter Nemechek rounds out the top 10, and still what is a good early on showing for Legacy Motor Club. That's a team, Todd, that had challenges in 2024. They've gone through some personnel changes. They've refocused some efforts back at the shop, and we're starting to see it paying some dividends on the racetrack.
Yeah, I really feel like in the offseason they made a lot of good hires to help kind of consume all the data that they have available to them from their TRD relationship. So, when you look at it, Brian Campy is over there. Chad Johnston came over there. Many pieces have been added to it, but they're able to do this. Made a crew chief change and brought in Travis Mack for the 42 team. I think he and John Hunter have had great kind of chemistry, and they put races together. It's been exciting to see what they can do, and I think it's a step in the right direction for what Jimmy's vision is for this whole program at Legacy Motor Club.
I spent some time with Jimmy Johnson back just before the start of the season, and he had some great perspective and insight in the fact that Legacy Motor Club, albeit a Toyota team, gets the TRD information, the engines, but they do not have a technical alliance with the other Toyota teams. They are essentially having to figure this out after they made the manufacturer switch on their own.
Yeah, and as you looked at it, we had JGR and 2311 that were the two Toyota teams, and everybody thinks they get the same things, but JGR does a really good job of kind of digesting that information in-house, and both 2311 and JGR are working off the JGR information. The Legacy came over, and some of the tools that TRD had, very valuable tools, but hadn't been developed through the race team side, so they're having to work that through TRD and work forward. Steve Post, do you have more to add?
Exactly, to your point, guys. And the other thing is, and I was listening to Jimmy. Jimmy has a podcast like some of the other people. And what I was really impressed, what I came with away from this is not a 2025 solution. In other words, we're not going to come out and win Daytona and run for the championship. This is a long-term prospect. They felt the relationship with Toyota was a better long-term answer. Now, long-term answers sometimes produce short-term challenges, like analyzing all of the information that they get from Toyota. But what really impressed me about Jimmy and his conversation about this is the sticking power, the staying power. This is a long-run version that he wants to build, and he just seems to have a tremendous amount of patience as they start to put the right puzzle pieces together, and we'll see how it goes. We're going to have moments of good, we're going to have moments of bad, I'm sure, but I really was impressed with the degree of patience and the long-term vision that Jimmy has for this Legacy Motor Club.
10 minutes to go in NASCAR Cup Series practice from Phoenix Raceway. This is the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
Feel like you're in the driver's seat and never miss a second of the race action with Racing Electronics. Racing Electronics scanners allow you to listen in on uncensored audio from your favorite drivers, spotters, and crews the entire race. Hear team strategy with critical passes, dangerously close calls, and all the pit stop drama. To learn more, visit them at racingelectronics.com. Be race ready. Be RE equipped.
Do you have an unused car, truck, motorcycle, boat, or RV taking up space? Put it to good use by donating it to the NASCAR Foundation. Proceeds help fund medical resources for children in our racing community. Your wheels can heal. Call 844-NASCAR-9 and we'll come tow away your vehicle for free. The process is quick and your gift is tax deductible. Call 844-NASCAR-9 to donate your vehicle to the NASCAR Foundation today. Your donation will help our children survive and thrive.
Minutes, 40 seconds left in this practice session for the NASCAR Cup Series, the Shriners Children's 500 at Phoenix Raceway. Carson Hocevar still is the man to beat. Michael McDowell second, Tyler Reddick third, Austin Cindric fourth, and Chris Buescher right now rounding out the top five in these precious few moments that remain.
You mentioned Carson Hocevar being the car to beat. Well, he's the fastest on the single lap that we put down. That was on his very first lap. However, Hocevar does not show up in the top 10 on the long consecutive average. Right now, that's Tyler Reddick's the best. Austin Cindric is second. Then you've got Michael McDowell, Ryan Blaney in the top four. Todd Gilliland, or Zane Smith, rather, is in the fifth spot. You're starting to see some of those Team Penske cars rise to the top on the long consecutive average.
Speaking of Michael McDowell, he's a local to the area. He's got a lot to brag about. High step in here with a fast race car. And obviously, Chris, when you come home to race, there's a lot of expectations and a lot of opportunities away from the racetrack.
Absolutely, Mike. This is a homecoming for Michael McDowell, really the whole family, because his wife Jamie's also from Glendale, Arizona, just up the road. They started dating in elementary school, so this is a big moment, a big weekend every time we come to Phoenix Raceway for the McDowell family. But even more special this year in particular, the fact that spring break fell on this very weekend for their kids. The whole family, for the first time in a long time, has been here at Phoenix all together, and this is a big weekend for Michael. He mentioned to me earlier today just about all that he's been doing already off the racetrack, from throwing out the first pitch to the Dodgers versus Rangers spring training game, and he spent time with his family. They did some hiking. He went to the Boys and Girls Club of Arizona as well. So he's already had a jam-packed week, and I know he would love nothing more to get a home race win here at Phoenix Raceway. So a special weekend for the McDowells, and so far so good as far as the single lap speed being up there in the top 5. And I know Michael's focused on Sunday and grabbing a checkered flag here in his hometown.
We can see Glendale, Arizona from our broadcast position. State Farm Stadium, where the Arizona Cardinals play, is right over, just over behind turn number 2 in the back straightaway. I'm amazed that he and his wife started dating in elementary school. I didn't know you dated in elementary school.
Longevity there, my friend. What do you think about all that?
I'm envious. I don't understand it, but I'm envious.
You know, in all seriousness, what Michael McDowell brings to Spire Motorsports, obviously coming over with Travis Peterson, what Rodney Childers, they've gone through. You talked about Legacy Motor Club a few moments ago. Spire Motorsports has been in the midst of a personnel overhaul for several months, a couple of years now, and I think, Todd, that we're starting to slowly see the fruits of that labor. Would you not agree?
Yeah, they've got a lot of talent that they brought in. You know, you had Luke Lambert and Carson Hosevar. They're the stipends. They've been there the longest. Brian Briganti, he just moved into a competition role. They brought the championship-winning caliber of Rodney Childers over with Justin Haley, and then you brought Travis Peterson, Michael McDowell. Already had chemistry at Front Row Motorsports. Brought them in. I think they've got kind of different players here that work in different areas, but are growing this program. Spire has been one on the up and coming.
They are, and they're a team that now is in position. They feel like they should start contending for wins and running as a regular race team inside the top 5. Steve Post, we're down to 5 minutes to go in practice. What's the gauge like down there with these teams? Are they comfortable about what they've been able to accomplish so far?
I think they have to be, because, as you said, there's about 5 minutes left to go here. Kind of getting different senses. I think some of the team are listening to Team Penske here, and I think they're pretty good both on the long run with this option tire, as that's what's allowed particularly Austin Cindric to go toward the top of the leaderboard. So I feel like that they have a pretty good read on both the option tire as well as the primary tire. So in listening to some of the other teams, yeah, I'm a little tight, I'm a little loose, I'm a little this, I'm a little of that, but I think this 45-minute practice session, which is a long practice session these days, has really helped these teams get an understanding of both sets of tires. And now we get to do something totally different, because now we get to go out and do one lap of qualifying coming up, and some of the teams, I'm sure, are comfortable with that as well.
So with Postman talking about what's coming up next, you've gone through several changes on the race car, right? You got it rubbered in, you've been on the option tire, you've been on the primary tire. Where do you go back to for your driver to give you the fastest one lap they can in what's coming next?
Something different than anything you've run here on the racetrack. So they'll go back. These crew chiefs will take all the data that they've had. They've got 20 minutes to kind of digest this, come up with where they want to be. They'll make adjustments on the sway bar arms that can soften and stiffen the sway bars. They can work on heights. They can work on how much load they have, and we call it wedge, where they get to by adjusting the rounds on the spring. So they'll do those things and come back and work on having single lap speed, but they're going to use all the runs that they made here in this practice to kind of forge forward into where they think the race balance needs to be and have an offset from that for single lap speed.
You heard Todd mention there's going to be a 20-minute break. That's what we're going to do. We'll wrap up practice here in 3 minutes and 15 seconds, and then we'll have a 20-minute break before we go qualifying, and that has something that has also changed coming to the year 2025, the way we qualify.
Well, it used to be we would have 2 rounds where everybody would get a lap, you would take a pause, you would take the top 10 and let them go for a second lap, and the pole winner would come from those 10 cars. However, with the way we have changed practice and qualifying in 2025, every team will be sent out for 1 lap and 1 lap only, and the fastest car at the end will be the pole winner of record.
And we heard a lot of pieces about metrics last year. NASCAR simplified the metric and how they kind of grid the drivers. So how you finish, where your points position is 30% of it. How you finished the last race is going to be 70% of that. And what we'll see out of qualifying is the car that's lowest on the metric, basically the proverbial slowest car, is going to go first. the fastest car is going to be last. We're going to work our way through qualifying. Better cars and better cars coming. But although you'll have some guys that didn't run well in the last race that will throw up speeds earlier. But ultimately, the last 5 should be your fastest 5.
Does not running that second lap help you on Sunday? It's only 1 lap, but is there something to that?
Well, if you need to get to that set of tires, a place like here at Phoenix where tire lap time fall off isn't that big a deal, I don't think it's going to be as big. Now, to a place like Darlington, where you'll use every set of tires you've got, not having that second lap and second heat cycle on tires is going to be a benefit.
So just how tight are they right now on single lap speeds at the top of the leaderboard? 2 Spire cars and Carson Hocevar and Michael McDowell separated by 2 1/1000ths of a second. As a matter of fact, the top 5 are only separated by less than the blink of an eye. We're talking thousandths of a second and hundredths of a second from the first back to the top 10. It really is close here.
Watching a pocket of race cars on the racetrack right now that are racing double wide. Chase Elliott has just found his way to the inside of Chris Buescher. Here you've got Ryan Blaney behind them trying to wedge his way to the inside of Todd Gilliland. Riley Herbst. Alex, that's a solid pocket of traffic, and we'll see a lot of that tomorrow afternoon.
We will, and that's part of what you do in practice. You've got a lot of laps on these tires. Car may not be handling perfectly. Get out there, mix it up. Get an idea what your car can do. And by the way, for the first time, we saw Riley Herbst dive and cut the dog leg here in that pack of traffic. He's now taking that Toyota back to the pit lane as they continue to mix it up out here on this racetrack. Daniel Suarez will look in the mirror now and see Chase Elliott begin to close in on him.
One of the things that's unique to Phoenix Raceway, we'll talk about the dog leg. We've done it already. We'll do it during the race. But the corners are wide enough that there are options. These corners at Phoenix invite you in to overdrive them. So you're trying to woe the car down, but you've got room to work in turns 1 and 2. And Alex, tomorrow at some point, we'll see them up against the wall in 3 and 4. So you're not married to just the bottom of the racetrack.
That's the beauty of racing at Phoenix Raceway and the characteristics this track has. As the final couple of ticks of the clock are about to wrap up, Shannon Bednarik is on top of the flag stand, and she will put the red and black flags in the air. Practice is over. Now, Todd, only one person that I saw, and it just happened, was Riley Herbst. Practice getting on the pit lane and going all the way around at pit road speed.
I actually saw 3 or 4 do it just before Ryler did, but one of the opportunities that you can take advantage of these practices, you have to do this before the clock expires. They don't want you doing that on the red and black, but you can take that last 30, 45 seconds of practice, make one run down pit road. That's important here because pit road goes all the way down the backstretch as a straight line. The radius changes as it comes through the 3 and 4 end of the racetrack. We actually exit past the dog leg. You have to understand how you use the lights, how many RPM faster you can run through the radiuses, and where that changes. This is a great data point for those guys to get.
So the cars now have exited the racetrack. They're coming back to the pit lane. We will take a pause here for 20 minutes. These drivers are going to climb out of the race cars. They will consult with their crew chiefs. We'll stick a microphone in there, and we'll get a thought or two as everybody gets set for 1 lap of qualifying. From Phoenix Raceway, this is the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
You crave power, but your ride is holding you back. Feeling the burn of mediocrity instead of the thrill of domination. E3's cutting-edge tech, the same spark that fuels NASCAR champions, also delivers maximum fuel efficiency, so you spend less time at the pump and more time on the track. This is championship performance. This is E3 Spark Plugs. Don't just dream of speed. Make it your reality. Power, speed, endurance. E3. What are you running?
William Byron on pole position. Green flag is out and we're racing.
We're in the turn.
Here to the inside comes Kyle Larson. He and Hamlin bump.
We're on pit road.
4 tires Sunoco Racing Fuel. The face off from pit road is Denny Hamlin. Eric Jones goes off second.
We are live from the track. The Motor Racing Network, your home for NASCAR racing. Don't miss a lap, pit stop, or side-by-side race for the win. Listen to all the play-by-play action on your local radio station and MRN or NASCAR.com.
Back at Phoenix Raceway, practice is buttoned up for the Shriners Children's 500. Coming up shortly, we will qualify for the Shriners Children's 500 course in advance of later this afternoon, where the NASCAR Xfinity Series will run the GovX 200 4:30 Eastern Time. And as we've mentioned, we'll remind you again to join us at 2:30 Eastern tomorrow with coverage of NASCAR Live Race Day and the NASCAR Cup Series after springing forward tonight. In case you don't know, the clocks change. We don't change them here in Arizona, but everybody in the country, for the most part, will be advancing 1 hour as daylight saving time begins.
Fastest driver on the single lap speeds was Carson Hocevar. In practice, let's hear from him now.
Yeah, he just climbed out of his Chevrolet. Carson, top of the board in single lap speed, but talk to me about what it was like changing tires between the primary and the option. How big was the learning curve in 45 minutes?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's a difference for sure on the reds. The reds are really fun because you have a lot of grip, but it's hard to say 100% the fall-off difference. I haven't really looked at it too much, but it's definitely a big difference just first few laps on one or the other. But our car seems to like both of them. I was a little nervous about if it would like both of them. Just not knowing the reds, and I didn't feel like we've ever been great on the reds in like Richmond and stuff, but this minor 77 Chevrolet is, pretty quick right now.
Obviously, that lap time was on that option tire, so how do you feel about qualifying? Because you have to do it on the primaries, so things a little bit different.
Well, we did a mock at the start on yellows, and felt good. Our teammate was on reds, and he was P2, so we qualified good here at last year a lot of time, or both times, so hopefully we'll be a few spots better and get ourselves a good starting spot. It's all about stage points right now for us in this group, so being able to start up front will give us that to start banking points and start building a cushion against the guys who are racing again.
All right, that's Carson Hocevar. So far, so good for JBMotorsports 1-2 on the single lap speed here after practice.
And not bad at all. A solid practice session there, something to build off of, but it comes down to your agenda, Todd, and what you wanted to accomplish during this 45 minutes.
It does, and they did that mock qualifying run, understood what their balance was. They can come back to those notes and work forward from it. Interesting, we heard Carson say stage points again. We talked a little bit about that through the broadcast, but that's such an important piece. Every point makes a difference, and when you can qualify well, you put yourself in position. That first stage is 60 laps. It's what goes straight through. If you don't qualify well, it's hard to score stages in that. Steve Post, Ryan Blaney, a guy that gets around this place. You got him down there.
Yeah, Ryan Blaney does get around this place really good. Actually, just as you toss down here, he's kind of gone in a little confab with his engineer down here. We'll see if we can catch a word after their brief discussion down here. But, yeah, 2 years ago here in the fall, Ryan picked up the win here at Phoenix, or actually finished in the second spot at Phoenix, and secured his Cup Series championship. The Worth colors on the car here. Ryan, what'd you learn about your race car in that 45-minute practice session?
Definitely does two different things on each tire. So that was interesting to learn and, figure out, hey, kind of what do you need on the primary versus the option. So that was interesting. It was nice to get some laps on it. So, yeah, it was pretty fun practice. Nice to have a little bit more practice, and especially when you got two different compounds. So I feel like our car is pretty good, especially on the long run. So we'll see where we can qualify.
What are some of the differences between the tires? What did you sense between the two tires?
Yeah, I haven't seen like a lap overlay yet to see how much faster it was early or how much slower it was late. The red just has a ton of grip. You can feel how much faster you're going on the red. And then I feel like it falls off a little bit more. I have to look at a graph. It feels like it falls off more because you lose the more grip, what you have with the red early. I'll have to look at the graphs to see what it is, but I think it's going to be important to, keep your reds when you need them, just because I think it's a big difference between the two.
Final question for you here. You were mixing it up at the end of that. We don't see that in practice much. How important is that to maybe get a little sense about what your car does around other cars?
Yeah, honestly, I didn't plan on that. It just kind of happened with everyone blending and things like that. That's, you don't see that much, especially with the separate groups. Now here today, kind of a shorter track, you're going to be in some traffic, but I enjoyed it. It allowed us to move around a little bit and kind of see what your car is going to do up the racetrack or through the middle. So that's always nice when you can get in those situations just because you're going to be in them tomorrow.
Absolutely. There we go. That's Ryan Blaney. We're going to let him get back to the debrief session down here. His crew chief Jonathan Hassler's made his way over here, and they're going to see if they can put a pole-winning setup on the Worth Ford here from Team Penske.
Yet to bust into victory lane early in the 2025 campaign, although top 10 finishes in 2 of the opening 3 races of the season. From Phoenix Raceway, this is the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
NASCAR history.
Petty wins his 200th career NASCAR victory.
Told by the people who made that history.
President Reagan was there. He got us on the front page, and we got him in the sports page. It was a good trade-off from that standpoint.
Motor Racing Network's NASCAR Live presents podcast The Road to Royalty. Jeff Gordon, A Colorful Career, 50 Years of MRN, the 1993 season, Junior's Journey, and more. Search for NASCAR Live on your favorite podcast platform.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and I dedicate a lot of my time going fast. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently or having trouble with routine tasks. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services and access available treatments. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. Visit alz.org/time-to-talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
We welcome you back to Phoenix Raceway. We are just a few minutes away from beginning to put the cars out on the grid to get ready for qualifying for tomorrow's Shriners 500. Tyler Reddick had a solid practice session, ended on the single lap speeds inside the top 5. But Chris Wilner, he was the fastest on the long average.
Yeah, and Alex Hayden, that's one thing you love to see, especially coming here to Phoenix Raceway, because we typically get at least a period of time of a long run, and a good handling race car will pay dividends for that for Tyler Reddick, boy. But Phoenix has been pretty good for him here lately. 2 straight top 10s, 4 of the last 6 races. And so Tyler Reddick, as he finishes debrief here with Billy Scott, his crew chief, seemed to be all smiles. But, of course, it all comes down to qualifying now. Track position comes down to being really key, especially here in the early parts of these races. He was another driver, too, that was out there mixing it up just a little bit with his 2311 Toyota. So Tyler Reddick continuing to debrief here. Davin Restivo, actually, the crew chief for Riley Herbst, the rookie in the 3-card effort, also coming over to offer their input as well. So that's something we talk about with these multi-card teams, is kind of the ability to share information and lean in from setups between one crew to the other. So he was able to offer his opinions as well, and so he's giving us the 1-minute finger. So we'll try to slide in here with Tyler Reddick in just a minute. But guys, I think so far, and you can allude to it a little bit more, the long run speed at Phoenix has been something key. But boy, now does it translate to qualifying, because you got to start up toward the front as well.
Goes back to those adjustments, Todd, that we talked about, getting that car just right to maximize the speed for that 1 lap and 1 lap only.
Yeah, and really the long run speed and qualifying speed, they're almost 2 different focuses. But once you know your balance is good in the long run, you can come back and make changes as to what you need to do and understand the offsets of what will make your car good for 1 lap versus that balance that you had for race balance.
Let's hear from Kyle Larson, who is, well, not bad in practice here, and a different approach to the practice than the rest of his Hendrick Motorsports teammates. Steve Post?
Yeah, Kyle Larson, he was just looking at the lines around the racetrack. Now he's looking at the lap times of the racetrack. Kyle, you were one of the cars that went out early on the option tire. What did you learn about that option tire and going out early on it? What did that allow you to do to learn?
Yeah, it was a lot more grip, so I don't know. It's hard to really get a full confident read on things when you have an option tire. So there's people on different things, and then you go back out and you're on something different. So I don't know, but it's definitely a much faster tire, and it lives pretty long as well. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the strategy plays into that.
Qualifying, did you get any sense as to what you'll have for qualifying? Because that's up next.
Yeah, I don't know. We got out pretty early because we didn't finish well last week, so yeah, that'll make things difficult, but I don't know. I really don't know. You know, it'll be different, I think, than normal, but I think it'll get back to more normal, but I don't think it'll be that way by the time we go out, so we'll see.
We'll see. There's a lot of I don't know down here with a lot of these teams sorting through all of this, and it's just a crush of data as well. Just watching Kyle's screen there, he was looking at the lines, and Todd, it's almost like how much data can you, or data, I know you two are debating that up there, how much of that information can you process in this short window before qualifying, and what does it even matter for qualifying as well?
I think it all matters. And you look at it, that's why you bring extra engineers with you. You've got people back at the shop looking through this data as well to come up with what you need for qualifying. You're trying to put that together, and you've got to implement that in the next 10 minutes so that we can put these cars in line to go qualify. So it's going to be interesting to watch how this plays out. Kyle talked about it. They get to go pretty early. The racetrack's got rubber in it. Not a benefit to be early there.
Kyle also mentioned last week the challenges that they had of Circuit of the Americas. One of those challenges included losing a tire on the racetrack. And because of that, Blaine Anderson and Brandon Johnson have been suspended. Those two crew members, the jackman and the tire changer, have been suspended for the next 2 races for losing that tire at COTA. So the team chemistry, the team dynamic is going to be a little different. And, of course, that was one of many news items in the cycle this week. It's been a very congested news week, and we'll touch base on that further in practice and qualifying coverage, and of course in NASCAR Live Race Day tomorrow. Let's go back trackside to Chris.
Yeah, and finally caught up with Tyler Reddick, finishing his debrief with Billy Scott. Okay, so we were just talking before this interview about what the option tires did and what the primary tires did, but how would you assess, because obviously long run speed is there for this Toyota?
Yeah, it certainly is. It's really nice. You know, I feel like the last time we were here for the championship race, you know, we just didn't really have the practice we wanted out of our Toyota Camry, and everyone at 2311 has been working hard over the winter and in preparation for this race to kind of see where we're at, how much progress we can make. Certainly it's just practice for sure, but it was really nice between the prime tires and the option tires to just do a really good job on the balance for both. Certainly it just seems like this Mobile One Toyota Camry can really fire up and lay a lap down, but certainly it seems like the pace stays with it as the run goes.
Yeah, and we were talking too, the fall off on the option tire maybe not as prevalent as maybe we thought, so could you run a really good long, maybe 90, 100 lap run on these tires on Sunday?
I think that's the big question everyone's wondering. You know, all the teams are going to be, you know, looking back at, you know, at the wears on their tires. Everyone's going to be sharing notes, trying to formulate the plan and when you're going to use those option tires in the race. Certainly they are faster, you know, not like a crazy amount faster. They don't have the fall off that I was expecting, at least, and that was in practice. You know, I would think as the weekend goes on, the track gets more rubbered in, it'll just help the fall off of the option tires. So definitely curious to see what we're going to do with it. You know, depending on what you want to get out of your day, if you want to get stage points, or you know, set up for the end of the race. I would imagine some teams will be putting them on in some odd times to try and get ahead and gain some track position.
Appreciate your time. Tyler Reddick, lots to mull over still between the primary tires and the option tires, but again, as you guys mentioned, fastest in the 15-lap average, so things trending well for Sunday, but now he's got to go qualifying and lay it down in 1 lap.
1 lap, 1 opportunity to get the best you can to set the starting lineup for tomorrow's Shriners Children's 500. From Phoenix Raceway, this is the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
Imagine a scrapbook filled with all your favorite memories of 75 years at Darlington Raceway. Now imagine that scrapbook going 190 miles per hour.
Have you ever? No, I've never.
You don't have to imagine. You need to get to Darlington, where the drivers of today tackle the track too tough to tame, just like they did your first time. NASCAR Throwback Weekend at Darlington Raceway, April 5th and 6th. Get your tickets now at darlingtonraceway.com. Discover South Carolina.
Hi, this is Mike Bagley. Join me along with the cast and crew of the Motor Racing Network every Tuesday night for NASCAR Live. Hear exclusive interviews.
It's my responsibility as a driver to leave the sport in a better place than it was when I got here, and certainly sometimes it comes with controversial takes.
The best moments from each of NASCAR's premier series.
They bang sideways at the line, photo finish.
And in-depth breakdowns of the latest NASCAR news and more. It's NASCAR Live every Tuesday night at 7 Eastern.
A moment ago, Mike Bagley mentioned that there was a lot of news breaking throughout the week, some of it with penalties coming down. We mentioned the Kyle Larson penalty to his team, two-race suspension there. Austin Cindric was docked a lot of money and points as well for intentionally wrecking Ty Dillon on the front stretch at Circuit of the Americas, and that wasn't the only news item referring to penalties.
Case Briscoe had a penalty in the Daytona 500, 100 points worth. The team appealed the penalty. It was a spoiler issue. issue, and the appeals board decided in the favor of the team. That restores the 100 points that was lost. Chase on Wednesday went from being 46th in points to 14th in points, Postman, and I know that put a smile on a lot of faces over there on that Joe Gibbs Racing team.
Yeah, I am sure it did, and Chase might have had the tweet of the week or the X of the week. It was the best points day he's ever had with that thing. First and foremost, we'll talk a little bit about Phoenix, but a good week for you, Chase Briscoe, to get those points back and climb back up in the standings as well.
Yeah, for sure. It was a great day, or a great week for us, for sure. Just it changes how you can approach your whole season, just, with that one penalty getting overturned. You go from 47th in points to 14th or whatever it was. So, yeah, really good week so far for us, but hopefully we can keep the momentum rolling. This is a track where, historically I've been pretty decent at, and the 19 car's certainly been really good here too. So, yeah, see, what we got this weekend, and it can hopefully keep it rolling.
That practice session, do you feel like your skill and their skills melded together well to give you a solid practice session?
Yeah, we had a weird practice session, truthfully. We started off there with the same, normal tire that everybody else did, and we had a terrible vibration. So we were kind of off sequence of everybody the whole practice. When we were on the soft tire, everybody else was on the other one, and vice versa. So we don't really know where we stack up and compare. From a car driving standpoint, it drives relatively good. Like, it could be better in spots, but I think we're okay. But, yeah, it's hard to say because we have no idea where we stack up. So, yeah, see what we got here in a little bit with our Bass Pro Shops Toyota. We're certainly about to find out where we stack up.
We'll see what happens with it. He mentions his skill here. It was March of 2022 when he stormed into the NASCAR Cup Series with a win here at Phoenix and won at Darlington last year. He's looking for win number 3, and he's that good. This 19 team that he takes over for Joe Gibbs Racing, they're that good as well. They could be fun. They could be a handful here tomorrow if they've got this car dialed in.
Chase will be the 24th car to qualify here in a few moments. From Phoenix Raceway, this is the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
Local radio brings people together like never before.
It's a beautiful hometown weekend out there. We've got
your local stations keep you informed and involved with music, talk shows, and real-time news updates you can trust. We are live and local. We are America's broadcasters, connecting you to what matters most. Text radio to 52886 and tell Congress to support your local radio stations.
Message and data rates may apply. You may receive up to 4 messages a month, and you may text STOP to STOP.
This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
Welcome to Martinsville. Martinsville isn't your average everyday racetrack. It's truly one of a kind. The speed, the shape, the history, the hospitality, heck, even the hot dogs. A one-of-a-kind weekend at the short track of NASCAR with trucks on Friday, Xfinity on Saturday, and Cup Series on Sunday. It's one event too amazing to miss. NASCAR weekend at Martinsville Speedway, March 28th through the 30th. Get your tickets now at martinsvillespeedway.com.
Moments away from qualifying for the Shriners Children's 500 here at Phoenix Raceway. We talked about the news cycle. Kyle Larson losing 2 pit crew members. Chase Briscoe getting 100 points back. Well, the other item of the news week involves Austin Cindric. Contact with Ty Dillon at Circuit of the Americas was ruled in NASCAR's favor, or not in their favor, but ruled by NASCAR and deemed to be a behavioral issue when right-hooking someone on the straightaway. Austin Dillon, $50,000 lighter in the wallet coming to Phoenix, and 50 points lighter in the points bank. Chris Wilner is with Austin.
Yeah, and Austin is currently top 10 in the practice speeds as his car gets ready to roll off to the qualifying grid. Austin, let's talk first about the speed here. Are you happy with your single lap speed?
Yeah, I felt okay. I mean, kind of hard to gauge with so many different tires and guys trying different stuff. So I thought our Menards Monster Energy Ford Mustang was pretty quick, and just got to nail my lap here for qualifying.
The boys mentioned the penalty handed down this week. How do you and this team respond here at Phoenix?
Drive my race car, go fast.
All right, that's Austin Cindric, guys. A man of many words there at the end, but the job is simple. Go out and try to win here at Phoenix. He's a 2-time Xfinity winner here at Phoenix Raceway, hoping to add a cup check mark in the win column.
Austin Cindric just simply trying to put that penalty behind him and move forward here. Just like we are in the day here at Phoenix Raceway, we're now on to qualifying. Practice and pole qualifying for the Shriners Children's 500 is brought to you on MRN by E3 Spark Plugs. Stuck in slow motion? Unleash the NASCAR fire inside your engine with E3 Spark Plugs. Forget pit stops, too. E3 gives you maximum fuel efficiency for more miles on the road and less time at the pump. E3 spark plugs, power, speed, domination. Get yours today.
First car is qualified already. That car belongs to B.J. McLeod and Live Fast Motorsports' Catherine Legg, making her NASCAR Cup Series debut here this weekend. She's a known sports car specialist. She's got podium finishes in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. She just turned in a time of 28.060 seconds, 128.297 miles an hour.
As Ty Gibbs takes the green flag, let's hear from Joey Logano with Steve Post.
Joey will be the 16th car to go out onto the racetrack. Joey, I'm looking over your shoulder at this start-finish line over here. There's still some donut marks over there from last fall. What's it like coming back to a place like Phoenix where you've had so many good memories with a couple of championships?
It's special for sure. I mean, the memories do come back to you quite a bit, but you also, got to remember it doesn't matter anymore. It's over, and it's nice while it lasted, but we got to go do it again. And I think our Hunt Brothers Pizza Ford Mustang's decent. Not sure it's quite as good as what we had in the fall, but I think we're just a couple adjustments away from having that. So I think we're in the ballpark, and we'll see what we can do here for qualifying.
We shall see, that's for sure. That's Joey Logano, our reigning champion here, back at the scene of the time when he won that championship. That's one of my favorite memories, is right out here. Him and the family took a walk up, grabbed the checkered flag, and celebrated all down together. I know he's got a lot of work to do to get back here in the fall, but Joey Logano, this place has been very, very special to him and really everybody at Team Penske.
Ty Gibbs just set the fastest lap, 27.681 seconds, 130.053 miles an hour. Daniel Suarez is on the clock as we go trackside and talk to a driver that's trying to become a 3-time Phoenix winner.
And Mike, that's Denny Hamlin. He's got the Sports Clips colors here this weekend at Phoenix. Denny, what did you learn in practice that may translate to qualifying here?
Not a whole lot, but I was in traffic most of the practice. But I feel like qualifying here is going to be a lot about hitting your marks and whatnot, and hopefully we do a good job of that today.
Obviously, when we go racing on Sunday, we've got 2 different tires. What was the learning process between the option and the primary?
Yeah, the option is just a great short track tire. We should just copy and paste and put it on all short tracks, and we'll have great racing.
Appreciate your time. That's Denny Hamlin trying to become, like you guys said, a 3-time Phoenix winner this weekend.
Daniel Suarez goes to the top of the leaderboard so far in qualifying. Ty Gibbs is second. Catherine Legg is third of the 3 drivers that have taken time. Let's hear from Riley Herbst. Steve Post is alongside.
Riley, your first 3 races are all 17th place finishes. I know you're a rookie, and I know you don't race for 17th place finishes, but what's it say about consistency and as you guys try to build a little foundation with this new race team?
Yeah, we'll take it. It's kind of odd that all 3 races ended up in the 17th, but just solid foundation for us on the 35 team to continue to build and get better each week.
This racetrack, very good to you in the Xfinity Series. Last time we were here, you won the race. How did Xfinity knowledge translate to Cup Series here with practice today, or doesn't it?
Absolutely nothing. Yeah, nothing. It's all different. It's a different race car. Everything's different about it. So it's been a fun 50-minute practice learning about it, learning off my teammates, and we'll go qualify here.
We'll go qualify. That's Riley Herbst from not too far away up in Las Vegas. Going to go qualifying here in just a little bit.
Riley has spent the last 5 years in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, 1 year with JGR, 4 years with Stewart-Haas Racing. Matter of fact, when we raced here in November, Riley Herbst was celebrating in victory lane as the race-winning driver.
Justin Haley is getting set to climb aboard his race car to go qualifying. A 1-time winner in the NASCAR Cup Series. Did that at Daytona. He's getting ready to make his 148th career NASCAR Cup Series starts. Let's hear from Justin Haley.
And he shows up to Phoenix Raceway, Alex Hayden, with a guy who knows about winning at Phoenix, and that's his crew chief, Rodney Childers, who's done it 5 times. So, coming here with Rodney for the first time, how's it been, and how's the race car after that 45 minutes?
Yeah, we didn't unload great with our Gamebred Chevy, but Rodney and everyone on the 7 team did a great job getting it to a happy balance for me, so we'll see what we got in qualifying here and move on.
You lost a couple pit crew members with the Hendrick Motorsports kind of swap, with them going over to the 5 car for Kyle Larson. How does that change Sunday, or are those guys ready to go?
I got full confidence in Hendrick Motorsports and their pit crew department, so no changes. Going to go try to win.
All right, that's Justin Haley. Goal is simple: try to win here at Phoenix. He qualifies here in just a little bit.
Cody Ware has turned in a time of 27.826 seconds. That's good for 4th of the 5 drivers that have taken time so far. Austin Dillon just completed his lap, 27.322 seconds, 131.762 miles an hour. That puts him number 1 on the leaderboard.
Let's go back and kind of expand just a bit on what Chris Wilner and Justin Haley were just talking about here, Todd Gordon. The fact that the 2 suspended crew members from Kyle Larson's team by rule after the wheel came off the car on the racetrack last week, the next 2 crew members up for Larson's team have to come from somewhere else. How does this dynamic work? And we're talking specifically now with the Hendrick Motorsports, but it's the same with a lot of different teams.
Yeah, the major Cup organizations, the Hendricks, the Penske's, the RCRs, even the RFK are in Joe Gibbs. They not only have their own teams, but they supply teams for other teams out there. They supply pit crews for other teams out there. That's how they have a bench, because you can't have somebody that doesn't have racetrack experience jumping in on a championship level car like the 5 car. So in this case, the Justin Haley Spire Motorsports, their pit crews are supplied by Hendrick Motorsports, and that's a paid for play piece for them. But when they need in that contract, they must have the ability to bring those guys up. We saw that last year. The 47 team had a really good pit crew, and they were on an RFK deal. The 17 car, Chris Buescher, was struggling. They made a true swap between the 2. So that's part of how these pit crew organizations work, and how the lesser teams still have quality athletes out there because they're part of a bigger organization.
Zane Smith on the racetrack right now after Ryan Priest just logged the 2nd fastest lap. We go to pit road and hear from Noah Gregson.
Noah down here getting ready to go out and qualify. Noah, your best finish of the season, 8th last week at COTA. How does that translate? How important is momentum and start to string some of those finishes together?
Yeah, it's certainly important to come here and come up a decent finish and go later in the qualifying round. You get to see the other guys go. So with the metric system on how we get lined up at qualifying, it's important, and it's always fun to get out here to Phoenix. I enjoy coming to this racetrack. West Coast is home, being from Las Vegas, and got a lot of friends, got a lot of family here. It's been a good racetrack here. We've won back here in 2022, so grateful to be back with this number 4 team. Long John Silver's on the hood. It's going to be a fun weekend.
I just saw you talking to Ricky Stenhouse Jr. You 2 were feuding on X last night. I thought, are you all good? Everything good?
No, that guy's a bum.
That guy's a bum. He says that with tongue-in-cheek. They had a lot of fun with that. They really did over the course of time. And I'm not even sure. It sounded like it might have been a little staged between the 2 of them, but it got my attention as they were going back and forth at each other.
Well, we talked about this at the hotel this morning. That's not the only quote-unquote Twitter beef that was going on. The other one involved Sheldon Creed and Jesse Love after last weekend's race at COTA. It got very physical. They did a back and forth with Jesse firing the final salvo with 3 words: scoreboard, buddy. I think that one was more significant and serious than the one that we just alluded to right there.
He mentioned the other half of that was Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Let's hear from Ricky right now.
Yeah, Ricky's getting ready to climb aboard his Chevrolet. Ricky, we just heard one side of the Twitter beef. How was it with Noah across the X platform?
Yeah, Noah's mad. I helped cause that Daytona crash that he got caught in. So, unfortunate for him and his team, but yeah, he came in really fast last week. Luckily, I looked in my left side mirror that time and stayed out of his way. So we've had a decent start to the season. Decent in points. We know that we need to get better here at Phoenix. We've really struggled in the past here. So just really worked hard on our setup to come here with something different, see if we can be a little bit faster and just see what happens.
I was just listening to your radio throughout 45 minutes. There was a lot of changes going on. I heard, brake bouncing. I heard tires bouncing. Do you feel like you figured something out here?
We were a little faster. Just our ride quality is not really good. So hopefully we got the ride quality good. I think our speed will come with that.
All right, that's Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Guys, getting ready to qualify. He mentioned this is a track he struggled at. Hopefully he and Mike Kelly, this whole Hayek Motorsports group, can turn it around.
That's what we're waiting to see. That's a good race team, and we expect results out of Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and Mike Kelly and that entire race team. We got a new driver, Mike, that's rocketed to the top of the leaderboard.
And that driver would be the driver for the Wood Brothers. That's Josh Berry, 27.088 seconds, 132.900 miles an hour. Josh, the 9th driver of the drivers that will take time today. Matter of fact, why don't we, while we have a moment, run you down to the 9 that have taken time. Josh Berry, A.J. Allmendinger, Austin Dillon, Zane Smith, the top 4 that have taken time already.
Ryan Priest currently 5th. Daniel Suarez is 6th. Ty Gibbs 7th. Cody Ware is 8th. And Catherine Legg, making her NASCAR Cup Series debut, is currently in the number 9 spot with Kyle Larson now, Mike, on the racetrack.
Kyle is a previous winner here at Phoenix. Of course, he went to Victory Lane in the fall of 2021. That led him to becoming a NASCAR Cup Series champion. That is his only Phoenix win. The good news for Kyle is he has finished top 10 in 4 of the last 5 Phoenix races. Let's see what qualifying effort he has to get him positioned to perhaps maybe becoming a 2-time Phoenix winner.
Finishes his qualifying lap 3rd best of the 10 drivers. He looked like he had a solid lap going till midway between turns 3 and 4, and that car really began to dance on him, had to roll out of the throttle. He'll settle for provisionally 3rd.
Ty Dillon up next to qualify. He'll be followed by Cole Custer, Eric Jones, Austin Cindric, Joey Logano, Denny Hamlin, John Hunter Nemechek, and others. From Phoenix Raceway, this is the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
You crave power. You bleed speed. You live for the roar of the crowd and the taste of victory. But your ride is holding you back. Ignite your engine's soul with E3 spark plugs. The same spark that fuels NASCAR champions unleashes explosive power in your ride. Don't just dream of speed. Make it your reality. Find E3 at your nearest auto parts store. E3 spark plugs. E3, what are you running?
NASCAR Today, every weekday, right here on the Motor Racing Network.
You're not going to want to miss tonight's county fair. I'm going to be...
We are your window to your community.
Did you see the last 5 minutes of that football game last night?
Oh, man, I saw the whole thing.
And a lifeline to keep you safe when danger is near.
Everybody who is listening needs to take cover as soon as they can. This is one of the biggest storms.
We are live and local. We are America's broadcasters. Text radio to 52886 and tell Congress you depend on your local radio stations.
Message and data rates may apply. You may receive up to 4 messages a month, and you may text STOP to STOP.
This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
Back at Phoenix, 10 cars into qualifying for the Shriners Children's 500. Right now, the lead belongs to Josh Berry with A.J. Allmendinger in position number 2.
Let's hear from Kyle Busch right now, who had a great car last week at Circuit of the Americas, came up just a bit short.
Was fun watching Kyle Busch run at the front of the race pack. Ended up with a 5th place finish. Backed up a 7th place finish in Atlanta. Kyle, how much is NASCAR Cup Series racing about putting yourself at the front of the field and being there consistently week in and week out? How important is that?
It's really important. I mean, it seems like it's a lot harder to do now than it was years ago with the car and the drivers and the way the craft is this day, you know. But overall, just real pleased with last week. Good speed in our Rebel Chevrolet, and looking forward to the Zone Chevrolet here this weekend. So good balance off the truck and felt pretty close. Definitely want to make it better. Didn't feel the best on the yellows, but felt really good on the reds.
What was there a trend or a little difference in the feel of it? Was one different than the other, or how was that?
Tires? Yeah. Yes, they're different. The one of them feels a lot better than the other one, and it's just the nature of how long you can make those last.
There we go. How long you make it last again. So much fun to watch Kyle Busch at the front of the field. He keeps doing that, and he's going to go to victory lane. Maybe it's here. He's a 3-time winner at this racetrack. Been a little bit of a struggle here over the last couple of years, but this team has pointed in a great direction, and wouldn't surprise anybody if he didn't hoist a trophy here tomorrow afternoon.
Well, he's won 3 times in the Cup Series, but when you factor in his wins in the Xfinity Series and the NASCAR Truck Series, that man has hauled 16 checkered flags out of this joint. That's not too shabby, Alex.
Now, he knows how to get around this racetrack, but when the cars change and the tires change from year after year, you have to learn how to adjust, and you have to learn how to adapt to do that. And he and that race team are continuing to do just that. Expect big things out of Kyle Busch. I do expect him to win again here in the NASCAR Cup Series and break that long winless drought. I expect him to win multiple races this year. I believe that team is certainly capable of doing it.
Ty Dillon has just turned in the 5th fastest time behind his brother Austin. Ty's data, 27.364 seconds, 131.560 miles an hour. And right now the General is on the racetrack. Cole Custer in his Andes frozen custard paint scheme. It is blue, red, yellow with a heaping cone of ice cream on the side, is now on the clock.
Yeah, thanks for really describing that one in detail. Yeah, that doesn't do me any favors. We're going to watch that car right now as he rockets up off of turn number 2 and heads for the back straightaway here at Phoenix Raceway. The blue on that car, basically the same color blue as the safer barriers here at Phoenix. Car blends right in. Cole Custer makes his way up off turn 4. Checkered flag is in the air, and what does Cole Custer fall in line?
Cole Custer will fall in the 5th position, 27.340, 131.675 miles an hour. Let's hear from Ross Chastain.
Speaking of good colors, Ross Chastain doing his spotter Brandon McReynolds a favor, having this like fluorescent orange and black. You got the fluorescent highlighter orange suit on. Welcome back to Phoenix. 2023 was a few years ago, but how is this racetrack this year for the Chevrolet?
Well, we are bright orange, Chris. It's great to be in the middle of Kubota Orange Days and their annual sale on all orange Kubotas. Better than Cole, he blends in with the blue safer barrier out there, so I don't want to do anything with the wall. MRN blue is good though, yeah, better than safer barrier blue. But I don't know. I mean, it's so tough to tell. Our balance is a little of this, a little of that, and if we can put down a good qualifying lap and have that raw speed, no matter how it handles, and I don't mess up, then we'll have a good starting spot. We know we can qualify well here. We also know we can qualify really bad here, so it's becoming more and more important to qualify good.
How important is having that option tire, though, this weekend, just in case track position isn't available off the front end of this race, that you have something to work with strategy-wise?
Yeah, it's a tool, so Phil Surgeon has lots of tools, including the driver in the one car. So, yeah, I felt better on the yellows, honestly. The reds were good for a little bit, but I felt like we fell off too much. So I'm probably just more used to the yellows as well. So we'll see. That's up for Phil Surgeon, the smart boys and girls at Trackhouse, to decide when we put those reds on and how to lay out the race strategy. They'll just point me in a direction, and I'll do what they say.
All right, that's Ross Chastain, guys. The yellows he was referring to, of course, the primary tires that they'll qualify on here in just a minute, and the red sidewall is the option tire.
That's important because it will come into play tomorrow. And with that softer option tire, we heard Denny Hamlin talk about it. They didn't seem to have lap times slow down the longer they ran on them. But you only get 2 sets of those tires in tomorrow's race for 500 kilometers, 312 laps. The highlighter yellow Ford Mustang Dark Horse on the racetrack right now is Austin Cindric. He goes to the number 3 spot. Good lap put down by Eric Jones a moment ago. Eric Jones takes the Legacy Motor Club car to position number 2, but everybody's still chasing Josh Berry.
Austin Cindric just put in a 27.170 second lap, 132.499 miles an hour. If you're just joining us, Josh Berry leads, Eric Jones second, Austin Cindric, A.J. Allmendinger, Kyle Larson, the fastest 5 of the 14 that have turned in time.
Next car on the racetrack is a bright green entry. The red numbers down the side of it. This the Hunt Brothers Pizza car. It's Joey Logano on the racetrack. Here he comes. Up off turn 4. Green flag will go in the air. Cool thing they do here. Bit of a tradition at Phoenix Raceway. They have race fans that get the opportunity to climb up on top of the cactus flag stand and put the green flag in the air for the driver. They alternate. Then Shannon Bednarik, who's our flag person today, puts the checker in the air. They'll rotate the next race fan up to put the green flag in the air for our next driver.
Here comes Joey out of turn number 4 to accept that checkered flag, and he will put in his lap of record. He's gone to the top, 27.028 seconds, 133.195 miles an hour, as Joey is looking for his first top 5 finish of 2025. Back to Chris.
Well, we heard from one Front Row Motorsports teammate in Noah Gregson. How about Todd Gilliland? We were just talking about practice. I don't know, 45 minutes and you still don't know, but how about qualifying? Where's the one-lap speed in this Ford Mustang?
Yeah, I don't know about that either, right? I guess there's a trend here. I just don't know much. So, I don't know, right? It was nice to get some laps on both sets of tires, but overall, I feel like we can make our balance a little bit better. Turning the center here at Phoenix is so important, especially as the race goes on. So, yeah, that's all you can do, right? Keep working on it. We're a team. This is kind of our first, real practice, real night of going over things. So, just got to stay focused and, do the best we can here and make the most of it for tomorrow.
Early in the season still, you come off your first top 10, but how much of a benchmark is Phoenix as we're kind of back to a normal-ish size racetrack between the two super speedway-esque races we had and then, of course, the road course last week?
Yeah, I think here in Phoenix and then Vegas next week will be a really good tell of where everyone's at, right? This is still the low downforce package. We have a couple different tires where Vegas is about as baseline as it gets, right? It's a fast mile and a half. You need all the downforce, horsepower, and grip you can get. So, we'll see how it goes.
All right, that's Todd Gilliland, guys, for Front Row Motorsports, as he'll see what Noah Gregson can do here in just a minute.
He will, as all of us will. Before we get back downstairs to pit road, Todd, quickly, so many drivers are saying, I just don't know. Well, how different is the racetrack after a 45-minute practice, everybody on the track at the same time, then you got to go out and go qualifying by yourself? Does the track go through a big change?
It does. I mean, the first 5 cars really see that because you've got all the rubber you laid down from practice that the first 5 cars are picking up. You think about it, these cars are qualifying on cold tires. They don't have heat in them, so they're actually, when they start to get a little sticky, they're picking the rubber up that got laid into the racetrack through practice. So the racetrack gets cleaned up through the first 5 or 6 race cars, and then the racetrack gets faster as we come along. It's a whole different balance to run one fast lap versus race practice that these guys had 45 minutes ago.
John Hunter Nemechek is on the green flag. He dove it off into turn number 1 and almost stuffed it in the fence. He's trying to regroup, but that slip in turn 1, Alex, is going to cost him.
It is cost him big time. He'll go to 16th of 17 drivers that have taken time so far. So Nemechek took it down into turn 1, hoping and expecting one thing, and the race car said, no, we're going to do something totally different when they got down to that flat part of Phoenix Raceway. He'll have to start tomorrow, Shriners Children's 500, closer to the back of the field.
Well, speaking of being at the back of things, Brad Keselowski is off to a horrible start in 2025. He's finished 26th in the Daytona 500. He was 39th, crashed out at Atlanta, 15th this past weekend at COTA. He's buried 26th in the points position. He's on the racetrack right now, looking for some sort of success here in 2025.
Yeah, he is. We'll talk more about Brad in just a moment. Let's hear from Michael McDowell, the hometown hero. Had a pretty good practice session earlier today.
Yes, he did have a good practice session, but even more important than that, Chris Wilner laid out the spring break for the McDowell family. Are you having a good time, and what's it like coming back to work after spring break?
Yeah, it's been a great week. We've had a lot of fun here at hometown, seeing friends and family, but now it's time to go to work. This Workforce Chevrolet was pretty good in practice. Some different strategies there on tires, so not exactly sure where we stack up, but balance was pretty close. We still got a little work to do, but getting a big lap here is really important, and as you guys can see, it's easy to miss it. So got to go execute and get a good starting spot for tomorrow, but feel good about the weekend so far.
Assess where we're at with this transition over to Spire Motorsports for you and Travis Peterson. Where are we at here 4 weeks into the season?
Well, we've scored some good points and got decent results. You're never where you want to be unless you've won 2 or 3 races, but we're working hard. I think the transition's gone well. We got great opportunities in front of us. We just got to keep building, and we'll have an opportunity.
Michael McDowell going to climb aboard this race car. He mentioned, as you can see, you can miss it, the reaction down here on pit road when John Hunter Nemechek skittered way up the racetrack. There was a whole bunch of drivers kind of cringed up until John Hunter was able to wrestle that car under control. So everybody keeping a keen eye on the NASCAR TV screen, what's going on with the other drivers.
Riley Herbst comes rocketing up off turn number 4. He will scream under the checkered flag. It'll put him 8th of the 19 cars that have qualified so far. 27.226 seconds, 132.227 miles an hour.
Joey Logano still the fastest so far here in qualifying. We're about halfway through from Phoenix Raceway. This is the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
Good morning, guys. I just want to warn you, traffic is tough out there.
We are here for you to tell you how to keep safe.
Everybody who is listening needs to take cover as soon as they can.
To provide the music, talk, and sports you love. And to deliver the news that matters to you. We are the voices you can trust. We are live and local. We are America's broadcasters. Text radio to 52886 and tell Congress you depend on your local radio stations.
Message and data rates may apply. You may receive up to 4 messages a month, and you may text STOP to STOP.
This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
This spring, speed returns to South Florida. NASCAR weekend at Homestead Miami Speedway.
Go get it done. Green.
Where high octane meets the high banks.
Down.
And gear up for spring break in the fast lane. 3 races, 3 days, one unforgettable weekend in racing paradise. NASCAR weekend at Homestead Miami Speedway. March 21st through the 23rd. Get your tickets now at homesteadmiamispeedway.com.
Just about halfway through qualifying as we get set to set the starting lineup for tomorrow's Shriners Children's 500. The final driver scheduled to go out in qualifying will be William Byron, and Chris Wilner is with him.
And William Byron did a lot of work in practice, doing some heat cycles on tires, options versus primaries. Okay, 45 minutes later, what did you learn?
Yeah, what I learned is I felt like we took what we had in the fall and just made it just a tick better. So I was happy with that. I felt like my stuff was fast. I had good pace. And then I also felt like my balance was reasonable, and there's a couple little things for us to improve and work on, but Phoenix is just a tough place. You have to you're really sliding around. You're on the edge of the tire. It's so flat. So we just got to keep inching up on it, but I felt like when we switched over to the reds at the end there, we were really strong. Honestly, I was like, okay, let's just take that tire and just race that because we felt really good on that. So I know we'll have to alternate between both tomorrow, but I feel like we're in a good spot as a team, and we've just been running really great. So we've had a shot to win every race this year, and that's something to be said about the preparation and just the team as a whole.
Obviously, this racetrack changes between now and the fall, but what do you hope to learn this weekend to translate to championship weekend?
Well, I think honestly, just build a notebook. Just try to build a notebook that you can lean on. Last year we didn't have a great notebook, and the year before we had a good notebook because we won, but a lot had changed. So this year we just need to have a good playbook for what this weekend is and pick up on all the details, and then when we come back here when it counts, hopefully we're in that spot and we can capitalize.
All right, that's William Byron. Again, you guys mentioned it last to qualify, but boy, he's been good here at Phoenix. The winner in spring race of 2023, and he's been top 6 in 4 of the last 5, so all eyes will be on William Byron and this Chevrolet come Sunday.
He is the NASCAR Cup Series points leader, but the number 1 man in the sport right now is a driver that's trying to go 3 races in a row. We're speaking of Christopher Bell. Let's get his thoughts.
Wow, what a run for Christopher Bell here over the last couple of weeks. Christopher, what's this like to just go to racetracks and win races, go back and do it again? What's that like?
Oh, it's pretty amazing. I can tell you that much. And there's no place I'd rather be than Phoenix. This is one of my best racetracks. It's such a driver's racetrack. You have to have a good car, but whenever you do have a good car, there's so many different lines that you can take to manipulate your car. If you're a little bit loose, a little bit tight, that's all you can ask for.
When we look at this, you had 2 different tires. How was your car on each of those sets of tires?
Different. It was different, and it's just it's going to be tough. And the red tire definitely had a big advantage on the front side of the run. So, I don't know. It's whoever puts that tire on at the right time is going to be the winner, it seems like.
We'll see what happens with it. Christopher Bell looking to go 3 in a row here. Oh, by the way, talking about a good track, Phoenix, he won here in the spring last year as well.
Defending champion of this race, Christopher Bell, and you can hear the confidence in his voice. A Toyota driver just took a lap. That's Bubba Wallace. That'll be 10th best so far. As we sit, Joey Logano, Josh Berry, Eric Jones, Justin Haley, and Denny Hamlin are the top 5.
Todd, we spoke to Christopher Bell right there. Of course, he and Adam Stevens get ready to go for their 3rd consecutive race win. They would be the first team to ever win 3 next-gen races in a row. What is it like when a team starts hitting that stride And at least from our perspective, the perception is you can't do anything wrong. What's that vibe like inside of the race team?
Well, you have more confidence, and you don't question yourself. You make decisions, and you feel good about your decisions as you work forward. And it allows you to play a little freer because you confidently make decisions, and you believe that even when things do go a little wrong, you can dig yourself back out of them because you've proven recently that you can do that. So a great position to be. I believe in momentum. I think it's real, and I think this whole 20 team, Christopher Bell and Adam Stevens, they're in a great place right now.
And it's just something, the culture for the race team continues to just get better, too, because nobody will question. If things are going poorly or you're having bad run after bad run, you might start having folks kind of behind the scenes and start kind of chattering and talking back and forth. Hey, I don't really believe in what we're doing here or the direction we're going with this piece or part of the race car. But when you win races, and especially when you go back-to-back and you go to a racetrack where you're the defending winner of that particular event, everybody's rowing in the same direction.
This is a group that's going to win championships. And it may not be just one. And Adam's got two already. I look for them. They will be a title contender, and I think they're hitting on cylinders. There's no weakness for this 20 team. They're really good in all aspects. I think they can be a contender here at Phoenix as well as the fall when we come back.
The driver's bringing the A game. The crew chief is bringing the A game. One of the most important pieces, Todd, is something that used to bite them years ago, and that's the pit crew. And the pit crew is firing on all 8 cylinders as well.
They have, and they made a pit crew swap with Ty Gibbs a couple years ago, and that's come forward. I think the whole thing. When you're having success, everybody plays a little freer, and I think that brings more performance out.
On the racetrack right now is Ross Chastain. He goes way up the racetrack in turns 1 and 2. Chastain has to roll out of the throttle. That's going to break the momentum of his lap. He see if he can just at least try to gain some of that back here in turns 3 and 4 as Chastain comes to the checkered flag.
He about threw it away, but he did regroup enough to put that qualifying effort in the 15th position. That could have been a whole lot worse. 27.350 seconds, 131.627 miles an hour.
Todd, how much of this confuses a driver when you have 2 different tires and you practice 45 minutes on each one of them in traffic? When it's time to qualify, you get 1 lap, and you have a feel for the option tire and the primary tire. In qualifying, you must qualify the primary tire. Is that something that could be a recipe to confuse a driver on their entry point?
Oh, I'm sure it can. It's a little different because most of these guys did come off the red option tire, which has a softer compound on it. Maybe that gives them a leading feeling that they can drive a little deeper in the corner, and then they put the primary tire back on to qualify. Air pressures are adjusted. The adjustments are made from a chassis standpoint, but it is definitely an unknown coming off of one compound to another.
Chase Briscoe has just pulled out onto the racetrack. He is under the green flag right now. In case you missed it, they were fined 100,000 points after a rules infraction at Daytona. They filed the appeal. They won the appeal this week. That 100-point penalty was basically rescinded. Chase went from 46th to 14th in points. Now he's on the racetrack, and he just eclipsed the checkered flag.
And he's 19th on the leaderboard right now out of 24 drivers that took a qualifying lap. So may not necessarily be the speed they were hoping to have here. As we sit, I mentioned 24 drivers have taken a lap. Here's how they stack up. Joey Logano still the fastest. Josh Berry is second quick. Then you've got Eric Jones third. Justin Haley is fourth. Denny Hamlin fifth. Austin Cindric is sixth. A.J. Allmendinger seventh. Kyle Larson eighth. Riley Herbst ninth. And Bubba Wallace is 10th.
As Noah Gragson takes the green flag, Brad Keselowski is 11th. Austin Dillon is 12th. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is 13th. Cole Custer is 14th. Ross Chastain is 15th. 16th is Ty Dillon. 17th is Zane Smith. Ryan Preece is 18th. Chase Briscoe just logged the 19th fastest lap. Daniel Suarez is 20th. Ty Gibbs is 21st. Cody Ware is 22nd. John Hunter Nemechek is 23rd. And Catherine Legg is 24th.
Here's Noah Gragson up off of turn number 4. That blue, white, and yellow Ford comes across the line, and he'll go into the 21st position in qualifying.
That car, Todd, seemed to meander around the racetrack in the corners. Was that overdriving, or are they deficient in the chassis setup right there?
I got to believe that they missed the chassis setup. Looked like he slid up the hill there in turn 2 a little bit, and likewise down here in 3 and 4. A challenge for him, but one that they'll be able to adjust on for the race tomorrow.
Next driver is Ryan Blaney, certainly good here at Phoenix Raceway. Blaney now will come up to speed into turn number 3. We'll find out what kind of qualifying lap he has. He's one of those drivers, one of those rare drivers, Todd, and you have that relationship as his former crew chief, that he understands all aspects from the practice to qualifying to racing.
Yeah, he does a great job, and this is a place that he just really gets around. Hasn't won here, but in the last three fall races, he's finished second. All three of them had a great run going last fall. Just need a couple more laps to run Joey Logano down, but a guy that I think will be in the mix, definitely, for a pole and for the race tomorrow.
Checkered flag in the air, and he's 6th on the leaderboard. What was it like to crew chief that young man?
It was fun. It was fun. He's very low-keyed until he puts the straps the helmet on, and then he gets a little fiery at times. But he definitely bought into the whole project, and really it was great to watch him kind of grow into the champion that he is today.
He is a solid champion and a great ambassador for our sport. As the next driver is Carson Hocevar on the racetrack now. He went out in practice earlier and set a wicked fast lap to be the fastest single lap speed. Here's Hocevar right now taking the green flag.
He is cutting the dog leg, diving all the way down to the bottom, then going back up onto the top. You know, Todd, you talk about how that dog leg disrupts the car. I can tell it by the puffs of smoke and dust that occur on entering the dog leg flat and then coming back up onto the banking of the short straightaway.
Yeah, that's wearing some of the bottom of the car off, whether it be they call them like lily pads on the sides of the splitter, or whether it's the sides of the diffuser. You do get a little bit of that, and that's the puff you see. It's a little carbon coming up.
Great lap for Carson Hocevar, second fastest overall. Hocevar's behind Joey Logano, Josh Berry third, Eric Jones fourth, and Justin Haley is fifth.
Todd Gilliland pulls out onto the racetrack with Michael McDowell on the way. Shane Van Gisbergen still to come with Chris Buescher, Alex Bowman, Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott, Tyler Reddick, Christopher Bell, and William Byron. Then we will be done qualifying for the Shriners Children's 500.
Next up on the racetrack, as Mike pointed out, it's Todd Gilliland. He'll take that car down into turns 3 and 4. He's got a gray and white Ford with a bright day glow orange number on that race car as he makes his way on his qualifying timed lap right now.
Todd Gilliland's been in the NASCAR Cup Series for a few years, taking the reins of the number 34 car, which was vacated by Michael McDowell, who made the move over to Spire Motorsports, and Chris Lawson back atop the crew chief in controls. They were reunited after being together in the NASCAR Truck Series, Craftsman Truck Series, back in 2020 and 2021. They say it's just like old times again. Todd Gilliland now under the checkered flag, logging his lap of record.
And he does. He'll come across the line and be 20th in the line. So Todd Gilliland finishes in the 20th spot.
From Phoenix Raceway, this is the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
Of over 50 years of NASCAR racing with the Motor Racing Network's classic race.
36th Annual Southern 500. They come down to the start-finish line. Bill Elliott and David Pearson get down.
We dig into the MRN Audio Vault for unforgettable races and moments.
Dale Jarrett's got the lead. Earnhardt's not going to get him. Dale Jarrett is going to win the Daytona 500.
Available on MRN.com and podcast platforms.
Alan Kowicki out of turn number 4, the new Winston Cup champion. He does it across the line.
MRN Classic Races.
Do you have an unused car, truck, motorcycle, boat, or RV taking up space? Put it to good use by donating it to the NASCAR Foundation. Proceeds help fund medical resources for children in our racing community. Your wheels can heal. Call 844-NASCAR-9 and we'll come tow away your vehicle for free. The process is quick and your gift is tax deductible. Call 844-NASCAR-9 to donate your vehicle to the NASCAR Foundation today. Your donation will help our children survive and thrive.
Back at Phoenix Raceway, wrapping up qualifying for the NASCAR Cup Series before the NASCAR Xfinity Series takes to the racetrack in just a few moments' time. Joey Logano, the fastest of them all so far, 27.028 seconds. 131.195 miles an hour, the lap of record for our reigning NASCAR Cup Series champion.
And tomorrow's race, 312 laps on a mile racetrack, 312 miles, 500 kilometers. Todd Gordon, obviously the tires is the story here this weekend. 2 sets of the softer option tire. We have to qualify here on the primary tire. So your qualifying lap here and your track position at the start of the race tomorrow, as a crew chief, does your starting position help dictate how your strategy is going to be and when you put those tires on?
It can. It definitely can. And where you are is as the stages go through. I think the common piece is that I'm going to save those softer option tires, the red lettered tires, for the end of the race when they pay out points, when the race wins on a line. But if I'm starting 30th and don't have a good qualifying effort and I don't make my way forward in stage 1, I might fire that set of tires on. We saw this at Richmond. I think we saw Daniel Suarez, I think, made the run coming from the back. I think maybe Michael McDowell had him on at one point. When they put him on when other people didn't and drove their way into track position and then fought from there for the rest of the race. So I think there's opportunities if you don't have a great qualifying day to be off strategy on using those option tires tomorrow for the race.
Speaking of Michael McDowell, he's under the green flag. Chris Wilner is with his teammate in the Cup Garage.
That's right, and that's Carson Hocevar, who laid up a good lap, still looking for his first pole. Came close second as of now. Carson, you got a little frustrated climbing out. Felt like there was more, maybe?
Yeah, I'm still frustrated at myself. Our car is really strong, and our cars are really good. I mean, Michael just went 5th, so we're 2nd, 5th, 6th, but I felt like the 77 could have been P1 right there. If I did a better job, I mean, obviously we were good, but if you want to win races and win championships, you got to be perfect, and I felt like I wasn't right there.
Still good track position, so confidence level for Sunday has to be high, I would assume.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. We have one of the best pit crews, for sure, and everything's clicking on our 77 team. This minor Chevrolet is really strong. Hendrick Engines, Hendrick Motor Program, everything's going good. Our relationship with them and Chevrolet is great, and I think that's showing with how fast our cars are right now.
All right, that's Carson Hocevar, guys, hoping that it lands him a front row start, but nonetheless, how about Spire Motorsports so far here at Phoenix?
You're right. They're 2nd with Hocevar currently, 5th with Michael McDowell, and 6th with Justin Haley.
Shane Van Gisbergen is on the racetrack right now, driving for Trackhouse Racing here in 2025. Finished 6th last weekend at COTA. He is self-admittedly needs some works on the oval tracks. He had a good practice run. Let's see how he can back up that good practice run with this qualifying effort.
Here he is with the checkered flag in the air, and that Trackhouse Chevrolet will go 23rd. So not necessarily the best of laps for Shane Van Gisbergen. Todd, when you have a driver like this, like a Shane Van Gisbergen, who's a road racing ace, not very good on the ovals, but eager to learn, how do you go about trying to teach him how to get around these types of tracks?
Well, I think the biggest thing, it's conversations and working through the simulator stuff and just getting him laps at these places. I really watched him through the Xfinity Series last year at these ovals, and he's a great student. He really understands. He'll get a move made on him, and the next corner, he knows what that move was, and he's thought about how he can do it too. I think he's going to be a sponge and have a learning curve. It's going to be pretty expedited here, but I look for the second time we get around to these racetracks to have a little more knowledge and a little better confidence.
Driver on the racetrack right now is a driver that's had an up-and-down start to the 2025 season. Chris Buescher, Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing, finished 10th in the Daytona 500. Matter of fact, one of 6 cars not involved in a crash that day. Backed that up with a 30th at Atlanta, but he was 7th on the road course last weekend at COTA. Let's see what he can do in qualifying on this 1-mile Phoenix Raceway.
He's got the orange, white, and blue Thomas's English Muffins car out there right now. He'll go to the top 10 provisionally. He'll be in the number 9 spot with just 6 drivers remaining here in qualifying.
Obviously looking for speed in every nook and cranny of this Phoenix Raceway. On the racetrack right now, Alex Bowman, looking to go back to victory lane. Won on the street course last year at Chicago. He, of course, an Arizona native, takes the Ally Chevrolet onto the racetrack for his lap of record.
As he comes up to speed, makes it way into turn number 3, there's always got to be extra pressure. And I know this is the top form of stock car racing on the planet, and the pressure is immense. But when you race at your home state track, there just has to be that much more it's difficult, I would imagine, Mike, to try to keep yourself at the same keel to make sure you don't get overly confident.
Oh, and he just loses the nose in turn 2. He was on par with the pole speed, and then all of a sudden the car just jetted up the racetrack. He was able to reel it in. And, Alex, that's not the first time we have seen that in turns 1 and 2 today.
There have been quite a few drivers that have had the exact same issue going into turn number 1, where the car just doesn't stick at the bottom of the racetrack the way they hope it would. They all have kept it out of the wall, at least they have to this point in qualifying, and it shows up on timing and scoring for Alex Bowman.
That was a gnarly qualifying lap right there. 27th of 32 cars. 27.647 seconds, 130.213 miles an hour. That definitely was not the lap that Alex Bowman was looking for.
Kyle Busch was really zigzagging his Chevrolet at a low rate of speed, whipping it side to side, just trying to scrub the tires, put some heat in them, and now he'll bring that car up to speed. Kyle Busch will take the green flag next time by, and we'll see what kind of lap Kyle can put in.
Just about out of cars. We have 4 to go after Kyle wraps up his qualifying effort. Chase Elliott, Tyler Reddick, Christopher Bell, William Byron, the 4 cars that remain, as Kyle Busch has just taken the green flag.
He's down in turn number 1. Let's see if his race car will stick at the bottom of the track. It does. Solid turns 1 and 2 for Kyle Busch. Now the quick sprint down the backstretch. 2 more corners await.
Here he comes off the end of the back straightaway. He'll dial up the low lane, puts the left side tires right against the yellow line at the bottom of the racetrack. He'll swing wide against the wall in turn number 4 and flash under the checkered flag.
11th. He had a big wiggle in the midpoint of turns 3 and 4. That cost him some time. 11th right now on the board for Kyle Busch as Chase Elliott fires his race car up, and he'll take that Napa Chevrolet out onto the 1 mile Phoenix Raceway.
Of course, Chase winning the Clash at Bowman Gray Stadium to get us going here in the 2025 season. He comes into this race 5th in the point standings, coming off a solid 4th place effort on the road course last weekend.
After getting spun in turn 1 of the opening lap, courtesy of the front bumper of Ross Chastain, so a heck of a rebound for he and that team last week at Circuit of the Americas. Green flag is in the air and Chase Elliott is on it.
Alan Gustafson has done a great job of giving him good race cars. Those cars have speed, and we have seen that speed on display at various times in the first 3 races. First 4, including the Clash of the 2025 season. He comes off the end of the back straightaway and just eases that car to the bottom of turn number 3. He is ready to accept the checkered flag.
That car is solid as far as our visual cues on him exiting turn 4. He will go inside the top 5 to the number 5 position. Joey Logano, with 3 cars remaining, continues to be the driver who has got the fastest time.
Joey Logano is standing on top of his hauler in the NASCAR Cup Series garage. It has to be painstakingly slow to watch car after car after car. The faster cars at the end of practice try to knock him off the number 1 spot.
And you look at the 3 we've got left. Tyler Reddick on the racetrack right now. He is a threat for the pole. Christopher Bell, a threat for the pole. William Byron, a threat for the pole. It's not easy. There's no breaths to be taken. He has to wait out what these last 3 can do.
Mobil 1 is on board with Tyler Reddick this weekend. A red, white, and black Toyota Camry XSE as he sails her off into turn number 1. Puts that car right on the bottom of the racetrack through that flatter set of corners. Car drifts wide, however, up off of turn number 2. Not sure if that's going to scrub off speed or not, but he keeps his foot planted on the floorboard.
This is Tyler's 6th full-time season in the NASCAR Cup Series, his 3rd with 2311 Racing. Here's Tyler off turn number 4. Checkered flag goes in the air. 8th quickest, Tyler Reddick, a 27.113 second lap, 132.778. Now 2 cars to go to try and remove Joey Logano from that number 1 spot.
It's amazing, a 1 mile racetrack. The top 8 cars, if you think of it this way as a visual cue, are separated by a car length. That's it. Top 8 separated by a car length. That's how tight the competition is in the NASCAR Cup Series garage. As Christopher Bell takes his Reese's Toyota into turn number 3. C. Bell will come up off the corner, and Shannon Bednarik will put the green flag in the air, and Christopher Bell begins his qualifying effort.
C. Bell has won the pole 13 times in this generation of race car, the most of anybody in the NASCAR Cup Series garage. Let's see if he's got a 14th in him. He's down to the bottom of the racetrack, trying to give Joey Logano a run for his money. He'll clear turn 2, a great exit to the corner. Now he'll dive it off into turn number 3, and he loses the nose.
He does. Car goes up the track just a bit. That may cost him as he takes the checkered flag, and Christopher Bell indeed loses some time there. He'll be 10th right now. And then there was one. William Byron, the final driver to go out.
Chris lost the nose into 3, and then he almost lost the back end of the race car as well.
Then the back got loose and drug the nose up the racetrack with him, but pretty loose into turn 3 on the up-to-speed lap, and didn't get any better on the money lap.
Either going to be a Ford Mustang or a Chevrolet Camaro on the pole here for tomorrow's Shriners Children's 500. Currently, it's the Ford Mustang Dark Horse, Team Penske's Joey Logano. He's got the time to beat the Chevrolet Camaro ZL1 from Hendrick Motorsports. William Byron takes the green flag.
The winner of the 2025 Daytona 500 is on the track here in Phoenix, Arizona, and he's off to a good start right now. He'll ease the car down to the bottom of the racetrack in turns 1 and 2. Alex, that Chevy is solid off 2 and up the back straightaway. Let's see what he does here in 3 and 4.
He's got to make sure the car stays with him here at this end of the racetrack, right on the bottom of the speedway. Lets it drift wide. This is a great-looking lap.
Checkered flag in the air. Byron to the pole. Wow, 26.930 seconds, 133.680 miles an hour, and the only driver to turn a lap of qualifying record in the 26-second bracket. William Byron goes to the pole and punched Joey Logano to the second starting position.
Joey Logano was the 16th driver of 37 to go out, set that fast time, and then stood there and waited until the very last car to go on the racetrack before he was knocked off pole position.
We will get the thoughts of Willie B in a moment and give you the starting lineup for the Shriners Children's 500 from Phoenix Raceway. This is the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
You crave power, but your ride is holding you back. Feeling the burn of mediocrity instead of the thrill of domination. E3's cutting-edge tech, the same spark that fuels NASCAR champions, also delivers maximum fuel efficiency, so you spend less time at the pump and more time on the track. This is championship performance. This is E3 Spark Plugs. Don't just dream of speed. Make it your reality. Power, speed, endurance. E3. What are you running?
South Carolina.
From tickets, parking, and travel, race weekends can be stressful. Let Racing Electronics make communication easy. With a scanner and Easy Talk intercom system rental from Racing Electronics, you can effortlessly talk over the noise of the race. Hear uncensored driver and crew communication from every team in the race, or tune into the race broadcast with your favorite MRN announcers. To learn more, visit RacingElectronics.com today.
Back at Phoenix Raceway, qualifying for the Shriners Children's 500 is over. William Byron of Hendrick Motorsports came to life there in the final opportunity to remove Joey Logano off the pole position, and he did exactly that. What a run from William Byron. Let's get his thoughts right now, trackside with Steve Post.
William Byron down here celebrating the pole position. William, can you describe that lap to me?
Yeah, it was pretty messy, but just the guys did a good job with the balance, and I felt like, I guess just coming to the green and just the exits of the corner were good enough. So just appreciate their effort. It's been a good weekend so far. We've had good speed and race trim, and just a lot of hard work from Rudy and the guys to prepare a good car for here. We know it's an important place.
Important place for sure later on this year. How important is it also, if we come off from 2 speedways and a road course, to kind of get yourself established on these oval tracks as well?
Yeah, it's important. I feel like every week is similar. With this car, the next-gen car, you've got to be competitive each week. So it's just about trying to stack weeks together and prepare, and hopefully, like I said, we can just have a solid race tomorrow.
William Byron going to lead us to green. Competitive each week, I'll say. 133.680 miles per hour. His 14th career pole. William Byron will lead us to green here tomorrow afternoon.
He was the last car to go out, and he got the job done when it mattered the most. He is the pole winner for tomorrow's Shriners Children's 500. Motor Racing Network airtime 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow. We're going to step off the air. In 30 more minutes, we'll be back with you for the NASCAR Xfinity Series, GovX 200. Again, that'll be 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time, so join us again here in 30 minutes. On behalf of Chris Wilner and Steve Post, as we get set to go here at Phoenix Raceway, Todd Gordon and Mike Bagley, my name's Alex Hayden. We congratulate William Byron. He's the pole winner for the Shriners Children's 500.
Motor Racing Network's coverage of practice and pole qualifying for the Shriners Children's 500 has come to you from Phoenix Raceway. Presented on MRN by E3 Spark Plugs. Powerful and fuel efficient. Find E3 at your nearest auto parts store. Our coverage has come to you under an exclusive radio license granted by Phoenix Raceway to the Motor Racing Network, solely for the non-commercial use of our listening audience. Any use of the descriptions and accounts of this event without the express written permission of the Motor Racing Network is prohibited. Today's broadcast was directed by Trey Downey. Broadcast engineer Steve Fridley. Studio engineer Andy Pachenik. Audio engineer Craig Moore. The president of MRN is Chris Schwartz. Follow NASCAR every day at MRN.com. This broadcast was a production of the Motor Racing Network.